Good morning. How is the जोश? सब लोग अभी अभी आए हैं, तो एक बार मेरे साथ सब कोई ऑन द काउंट ऑफ 1, 3 बोलेंगे मेरे साथ. गुड मॉर्निंग. 1, 2 and 3. Good morning. That's a wonderful start. A very warm welcome to my young friends to this full day seminar on the guidance to the CA career. 30 years back, when I qualified as a chartered accountant with All India rank 2, I was still very confused. And when I used to go for this kind of seminars and the speaker used to call, I used to freeze. I did not know how to react. But this is young India, new India, and this is great to see. We have all spent the last 2 years ravaged by COVID, largely confined to home. You people have qualified as chartered accountant at a time when you missed out on the usual networking, interaction, guidance from the seniors while you are in the hostel or you are attending coaching classes. So there is that element of that live experience that you might be missing. The online cannot substitute for the physical interaction, but then I think today I think will more than make up for all that you missed, because we have a galaxy of speakers which I think you people have to be extremely lucky, and I've been feeling jealous of you people since I have come to know the speakers schedule. We have with us Mr. Kamlesh Vikamse, who is an ex-president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. Who better can we have at this stage with an audience of 50-60 people? I think we have the God's blessing that he agreed to join us today. And we are ending with one current council member, central council member of the institute, where you can get all your issues addressed. And in between, we have the range of issues that will be covered, that talks about how to appear for an interview, how to prepare for an interview, to how to invest when you start earning. So I think we should all look for a very exciting day ahead. With that, I will request Sri Atul Lahoti ji to give an introduction about MVPM. Sri Atul ji is the president of the MVPM, and under his guidance, MVPM has been breaking new barriers every time. And when the whole world was paralyzed because of the COVID, we never stopped. We conducted about 30 webinars covering the range of subjects, from psychological impact of COVID to how to motivate yourself during COVID, to everything that comes under the sun. So I think Atulji knows no introduction. All of you have been under his Chhatra Chaya and you have all qualified to be CA. So I will hand it over to Atulji. Please, sir. Welcome.
It's my privilege to welcome Kamlesh ji, past president of ICI, for this August House, and also all you fresh chartered accountants. I can see your eagerness to do the best in the life, and Maheshwari Vidya Pracharak Mandal, MVPM, is there to support your aspiration, and that is the reason we all are here today. In fact, I am feeling privileged. Today, I am feeling privileged because in the country of 125 crores, there are only 3,25,000 chartered accountants who are supposed to maintain the financial health of this country, consisting of 125 crore people and the chartered accountants, which are the cream of the society. So today I am feeling privileged that I am amongst these 60, 70 chartered accountants, so I am feeling really privileged, sir, today. If you look at the chartered accountancy as a profession, no doubt, within our community, the Marwadi community, Maheshwari, Jain, Agarwal, it is one of the most preferred profession. And that we see in our hostels also. In our hostel, at any moment of time, around 40 to 50% students are doing the career in the commerce, finance or chartered accountancy. And when I see around us, the chartered accountants, they are not only as good as the finance professionals, but I think there are few names if I take. Kumar Mangalam Birla, he is one of the chartered accountant who has got his very good impact in the industry. Then we also have the Piyush Ji Goyal, is in the field of the politics, a chartered accountant but doing fantastic in the field of politics. Then we also have Naina Lal Kidwai, and business executive, a known name with HSBC. She is also chartered accountant. TV Mohandas Pai, one of the founder of the Infosys, IT expert in the education. He is also chartered accountant. And T.N. Manoharan, the past president of ICAI and also the past chairman of the Canara Bank, one of the largest public sector bank. So if you look at these people, I think chartered accountant, उनके DNA में जो एक रहता है ना intelligence level, so they can exceed on all the fronts, not only the finance, but also in the whether it is the industry, whether it is the banking, whether it is the IT, whether it is the education. So I think I'm blessed today that I am with you and I will have the opportunity to spend today's full day with all of you. So I welcome all you once again. Now shortly, I will tell you about Maheshwari Vidya Pracharak Mandal. We call it MVPM, our alma mater. Maheshwari Vidya Pracharak Mandal is a 92-year-old organization. 1929, three visionaries, they came together. Bhausaheb Jaju from Satara came together. Kishan Lalji Lahoti from Karad, he came to Pune. And from Pune, Rai Bahadur Hanumantaramji Rathi. These three people at that time, 92 years before, they thought that this Marwadi community, which was predominantly doing exceedingly well in the trading activity, if they want to move ahead, if they want to maintain their leadership position, then education is one thing in which we should provide them the support system. And in 1929, a small beginning was made at Narayanpet Hostel, which is today our girls' hostel at Narayanpet. And then last 92 years, the thousands of students have got benefited through their hostels, schools, college. MVPM also supports scholarships, the financial assistance to the needy student, and it is one of the largest organization in India of our community which distributes more than 1.5 crores of rupees to the needy student to support their education. We have a very strong alumni base, more than 5,000 students who have done their more than 5,000 students who are ex-student of this Maheshwari Vidya Pracharak Mandal and graduated from the hostels. They are doing today exceedingly well. In fact, today we have 350 Karyakartas like me who devote our time, talent and treasure to MVPM. So out of these 350 Karyakartas, more than 70% are the ex-student of Maheshwari Vidya Pracharak Mandal, because we have that emotional bonding with the MVPM. I think many of you are known with our known brands like Lahoti Hostel or Rathi Girls Hostel. Many of you are the students also of this hostel. But MVPM is trying to do a lot of other things also in last 10 years, especially the MVPM Scholar Program, which I think some of you are aware. We also have this Dronalaya, which is a career booster residential program. That is also in the pipeline. We are working on that. So many, apart from the hardware, okay, we have hostels, we have school, we have colleges, but apart from the hardware, we would also like to push the, the software power also to our students, and would like to work with the people like Kamlesh ji on one hand, and on the students like you for the betterment of the tomorrow. So that is what is our objective. We have future plan, Maheshwari Vidya Pracharak Mandal. Our one girls hostel is coming up at Airoli. SIDCO allotted plot to us at Airoli, very premium location. So that construction is in the full swing, and in the month of July, we'll be able to inaugurate that hostel. Then Lahoti hostel, if you have seen, so many, the development is going on. It has become the old structure. So we have demolished the old structure, and I think 50% work is already over. 2 towers are already operational. Another 2 towers should be operational by next, I think 5-6 months. So June, July, we should be able to inaugurate and take the capacity of the students in Lahoti hostel to 310, which is one of the highest in this area. So apart from that, in the future, we would like to work on that how we can help you to build your career in the faster way, because MVPM has got lot of resources, and I am very happy. If you look at the profile of the today's speakers, these speakers, our Bombay team, Mahendraji and Maluji, once I have told them that we want to conduct this seminar, the idea was basically 26 of our students this year qualified chartered accountant in January when results were declared. So we thought that why not to conduct one seminar which can add value to their career. They can take their career to the faster track, and if we can help the student like this, nothing like that. So I requested Mahendraji, and within 24 hours, within 24 hours, everybody they contacted agreed, and in fact we have the line of more than 10 to 12 speakers in front of us. So that is the way, because MVPM today is a very well-known name in the field of education, because of the devotion of all the karyakartas, because of the emotional attachment of the students, ex-student of the, because they are spread all over India, not only in India but all over world, I will say, because in US and Europe also the students are there, MVPM ex-students are there. So I think this is a golden opportunity for all of us, the galaxy of people today. 3 of them are Mantriji, Mr. Rick and Mr. Kamlesh ji are already here. Mahendraji is also, though Mahendraji is our secretary of our MVPM Scholar Committee, he is also a Chief Investment Officer of Mirai Asset, one of the leading fund house in Bombay, qualified chartered accountant and CFA. So MVPM, everybody, all the karyakartas, all the guests, all the students are well qualified, I think, for today's seminar. Now what we are looking for today, in next 8 hours, the things that I think we should be able to take away, the students will be able to take away. I think the first thing is the networking. Today, more than 60 fresh chartered accountants and 15-20, they can become the chartered accountant in next 6 months. They are into the finals. So this is a great event for all of you to increase your networking. That is very important, because in today's world, the strength of networking. And apart from that networking, today onward, you can also call yourself as MVPM family member, because in some part, you are able to attach with MVPM activities, whether it is a one-day seminar, but now you are part of MVPM. So that is also one of the takeaway I will say. I think new avenues. पहले जो एक इमेज थी ना, जो मैं जब when I passed out my engineering in 1986 and then MBA, so एक इमेज जो थी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट है ना, एक अपना इनकम टैक्स के रिटर्न भरने वाला आदमी है, ऐसी एक इमेज पहले हुआ करती थी. But now I think the way the things have developed, the way the technology has progressed, and now I think a chartered accountant has to be more as an engineer, because unless he explore the artificial intelligence, unless he explore the data analytics, unless he explore the cyber security and blockchain, these terms might seem technical, but I think it is more important for chartered accountant to know these terms. Using artificial intelligence, Government of India is already working on the software that all the individual returns they will make using artificial intelligence. So as a chartered accountant, I think these are very important things which are upcoming, and I think I'm sure that with the right people today to guide you, definitely all of you will be able to explore these new avenues because of the changing technology and the perception and the simplification by the government. Because one thing government has also understood, that is top 3,25,000 brain that we have chartered accountant, whether we have to utilize their brain into the compliance or whether we should give them something which they can add real value to the economic growth of the country. So I think that is what the government approach is, and we should also capitalize that. Yes, we would like to compliance and all, okay, they are the part of it, but ultimately let us look forward that what value addition we can make to the overall economic growth, and how we can help our country India for the double digit growth. That is equally important, I think. Then I think one more thing that I expect, the international collaboration. Today's world, it is a global village. So what's happening in US, what's happening in Europe, what's happening, that affects us. So international collaboration, I think this also topic has to be very important, and if one want to succeed, it can be one specialized area, but I think that is also one area one should look for in today's one thing. Then when you start building your career, I think these three important very factors, you should also focus on MSME sector, the total MSME ecosystem. One should understand the cash flows, the financial problem, the overall working of the sector, and also the startup ecosystem. You all know that every 10 days, India is giving one unicorn to the world in last 1 year. So I think that is a great opportunity, and as a finance professional, you also has to explore because when I say startups, 90% are failures because they are not able to manage their finance in the way they should manage. So I think for you to understand the startup ecosystem and to help these our young budding entrepreneurs to reach their logical goals, that is equally important. And I think entrepreneurial spirit, that is what we call as an chartered accountant who understand the figures in much better manner, and with the Marwadi background, the crunching of the numbers, that is in our blood. So I think we should able to add tremendous value to it. I think one more important topic, that there are so many events happening around us. Earlier, if there is a war somewhere or some US federal taking some drastic policy reversal decision, then it has no effect on us. But today you have seen the Ukraine war or the interest rates of the policy by the US Federal Reserve, how important they are. So I think we have to develop, as a finance professional, we have to develop that research aptitude towards the global event which affects the Indian economy. I think that is also very important thing, and that can happen through the reading, through the interaction with such a galaxy of people, and to understand the topic so that we can understand the impact of the the major events which has got the whether it is a positive or negative, but that is going to help you to succeed in the career. I think that is very important. So I think that is what I want to say. Thank you very much, and I will end with just one quote of Sudha Murthy. Sudha Murthy, I think everybody is aware, she is icon. She told that, you should have more of a good relationship. You should have more of the compassion for the others. You should have more of the peace of mind. You can have the less of your awards. You can less of your achievements. Degree, it's all right. Money is all right. But you should have more of the good relationship. You should have more of the compassion, more of the peace of mind. That is what is the balance of life, and I think larger picture of the life, that is also very important. I think that message also from MVPM we would like to give you, that we have to balance our life. Okay, career, awards, money, they are important, no doubt in the life. But how you at the end of the day, how you balance that, with your other factors, that is equally important. That is what Sudha Murthy says. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have the pleasure of welcoming Sri Kamlesh Vikamsi as our next inaugural speaker. As I mentioned in my previous speech, that Kamlesh ji is an ex-president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and we are absolutely privileged to have him with us today. Thank you, sir, for being able to make it. And you would have seen his profile. I can't do justice to that, but I will try to, highlight some of his amazingly, defining career things. He is associated with so many uh, institutions, from the global institutions like World Bank and the schools in Pune, Pune's Mahavir School. He is one of the trustees. He has a long and distinguished career, and he has been representing the profession and his clients onto various government regulatory bodies, etc. So, sir, it is our absolute pleasure to have you. The stage is yours. Thank you.
Atulji, Mahendraji, dignitaries, office bearers, fellow speakers, and my dear students. I should not say students now. There are some students as well, but my colleagues in the profession. So good morning to all of you. And it's indeed a very great privilege, Atulji, that you have invited me amongst these young, bright minds, if I may use that word. And truly I believe that the future generation, especially of the profession, because I have seen the profession from very close, and I also run a practice in Mumbai. And let me tell you, these youngsters are doing wonderful job. And let me give you a few examples of, why I'm saying that, these youngsters are doing wonderful job. Data analytics, for example. Like we are auditors of large banks, we are auditors of large entities, large corporates, multi-locational. And we had this COVID. For the last 2 years, there was lockdown. You couldn't go out of your house. Believe me, each individual in our office, and I'm talking to youngsters, to be qualified youngsters, chartered accountants who have just qualified, they took up this challenge of auditing the entities, large entities. And mind you, the kind of audit which they do and the kind of innovation they do in the audits is mind-boggling. It's beyond my imagination. With the kind of data which was given to them, they did the data crunching in the software tools we have, and they point out exactly which are the problem areas, the red flags, which we are supposed to see in any given audit. Now, this is by no means a small feat. So, compliments to the young minds like you. What I will do in the next about 30-40 minutes is that I will not only talk about the profession, but things which I personally feel that you as youngsters must imbibe in your lives. And this has nothing to do with the profession, but how to be a good citizen, and I'll just dwell upon them. So first, of course, let me start with, as Atulji very rightly pointed out, what is the value of a chartered accountant? And you heard this mantra which was given, partners of nation building. This was given when I was the president of the institute way back in 2005 by Mr. Chidambaram, the then finance minister of the country. In one of the conferences he came, he saluted the profession. He says, you are partners in nation building, which is a very big, because generally the government or the bureaucrats, they think they are the ones who are building the country. But here is a person who was sitting in the government, a very senior minister. He came to the conference and said that the chartered accountants are partners or pillars of nation building. We had Mr. Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, in the year 2017 in the institute function. And you know what he said? One sentence which he said. Again, I'm just pointing out the importance of chartered accountants because we all must be proud about this. He said, that your signature, the chartered accountant's signature, is more important than the President of India's signature. Can you believe this? It is Narendra Modi who said that. And my father always used to tell, my father was also a chartered accountant. He always used to say that be very careful when you're signing, because your signature affects the lives of millions of people. When you sign a balance sheet, an audit report of, say, a large corporation, it's not only the shareholders of that corporation, but the entire, the entire ecosystem looks at those financial statements. Be it the government of India, the income tax department, the GST department, the labor department, the shareholders, the potential shareholders who want to become shareholders of that company. All of them look at the financial statement. So your opinion is the most important opinion, including the foreigners, for example. If they want to do an JV, what is the first thing they do? The first thing they do is look at financial statements. Then comes technology, then comes who are the people who are running the show, etc. All that comes subsequently. The first thing they see is where are the financial statements? What is the opinion of the auditor who has signed the financial statements? So be very, very careful. Your signature is most important. And if I may just, give you a macro picture of what a chartered accountant does. Number one, assurance service, which we are all aware. We sign audit reports and audits under various statutes. It could be a financial audit under the Companies Act. It could be tax audit. It could be GST audit or any other audit for that matter. Just look at financial audit, for example. The entire stock exchange, the capital markets of this country, what is the pillar of how do they function? They function on credible financial information of the companies, how they are run. So unless, and who's the one who certifies the financial information? It's the chartered accountants. So I would say the entire capital market, the foundation is the chartered accountants. Because unless they get credible information certified by a professional who's well trained, well educated, well qualified, and who has a code of ethics, it is based on that the entire capital market is working. So that's one side of the assurance. Come to the other services which chartered accountants render. And let me take up, say, taxation, for example. Now, do you know the budget of direct tax collections of India? It is to the tune of some 19 lakh crores. Next budget is 22-23 lakh crores, if you see the budget. Now, if on the one side is the government of India, the income tax department, who makes assessment and, levies tax on you, who is the one on the other side of the chair? It's the chartered accountants. Because it is we chartered accountants who make the businesses or the taxpayers comply with the Income Tax Act and make them pay the taxes. So a fair share of credit of the entire collection of 19 lakh crores or 21 lakh crores, whatever the figure is, goes if to the bureaucrats on one side, that is the income tax department, on the other side it is we chartered accountants. And but for us, it's not easy that Income Tax Act or the GST Act can be complied by anybody. It's sometimes difficult for us chartered accountants also to understand the laws. And therefore, I would put it that the entire credit of revenue collections, and mind you, this 19 lakhs is only direct tax. If you add the GST and you add the excise, because still there is an excise, on alcohol and petroleum products, which is collected by the states and the center. If you add up all that figure, it's a very huge figure. I have not done my arithmetic, but it's a very huge figure. So I would say a large amount of contribution of this revenue collection in the country is because of we chartered accountants. So that's on the, what's the value which we are giving to this country as far as we chartered accountants are concerned. Now, be it you may be in practice, or you may be in industry, or you may be doing your own business. Essentially, it's the same. And again, as Atulji very rightly pointed out, that when you have qualified as a chartered accountant and have undergone that course, and people know how difficult the course is. And there I would like to quote a former minister who's no more, Mr. Arun Jaitley. In one of the conferences when he came to the institute, he said, I wanted to become a chartered accountant. But I was not sure whether I'll pass the exams or not, and therefore I became a lawyer. This is the compliment he paid to the profession. And he was a very noted and a very able minister for that matter. He was finance minister of the country as well during Mr. Narendra Modi's time. So that's as far as the profession is concerned. Now let me touch upon something which you as individual chartered accountants, what should you do? As Atulji very rightly pointed out, there's always, and Mahendraji also pointed out, that there's always a confusion in the minds of freshly qualified chartered accountants. What should I do? Now, firstly, of course, I would just, sum up in one sentence. Do what is your passion. Pursue your passion. If you're passionate about a particular stream of work in the profession, please pursue it and try and excel in it. And as well, whatever work you're doing, make it a passion. Don't take it as a drudgery. Because I have seen many times people complaining, I do this work, oh, this is boring, I do it every day. No. Take it with passion. And you'll enjoy it. Take whatever comes your way with full passion. And of course, as far as areas of work is concerned, sky is the limit. I have seen chartered accountants in varied fields. Varied means we know financial services, we know because we are skilled in financial numbers and financial services. But I have seen chartered accountants, for example, there was one chartered accountant I met in Assam. He runs a newspaper. He's a media. So, sky is the limit. You can go in business, you can be in industry, you can do profession, you can go abroad, and you'll be brand ambassadors of the CA profession outside India. And mind you, talking about the chartered accountants outside India, they are truly brand ambassadors. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Because we chartered accountants, and not only in India, but across the world, have, developed in geographies. Like for example, Indian chartered accountants will render service in India because we are an unregulated profession. And each profession across the globe, in any country, is regulated. Now, I firmly believe that what has happened to the IT sector and why IT sector has prospered is because they didn't have boundaries, they didn't have geographies. Because once you are good at a particular, stream of IT, you can, go and render your service across the world. But that limitation has come to the chartered accountants because we are regulated, and I cannot go and sign a balance sheet in the United Kingdom for that because it's a regulated work. But be that as it may, I personally feel that number one, again COVID, and let me give you a positive side of COVID. People always look at the negative side of COVID, कि घर में बैठना पड़ा, काम नहीं हो रहा है, ये नहीं हो रहा है. But look at the positive side. The positive side is that COVID has actually taught us that we need not go to a particular location. हर रोज ऑफिस में जाके बैठना है और वहीं काम करना है, वो नहीं. घर पे बैठ के भी सब काम कर रहे थे, सभी लोग सब काम कर रहे थे. वो हमको सिखाया है. तब ये जो एग्जाम्पल हमारे सामने है कोविड का, कि जैसे हमने काम किया घर पे बैठ के, क्या ये इंटरनेशनल रेप्लिकेट नहीं हो सकता? well अल्टीमेटली टेक्नोलॉजी वॉज योर ब्रिज, कि आपने टेक्नोलॉजी के द्वारा घर पे बैठ के भी आपने काम किया और फुल जस्टिस दिया. जो आप क्लाइंट प्लेस पे बैठ के कर रहे होंगे या कहीं भी बैठ के कर रहे होंगे वो आपने घर पे बैठ के किया। तो ये सेम चीज इंटरनेशनली भी रेप्लिकेट होगी। इंटरनेशनली कैसे रेप्लिकेट होगी कि देयर विल बी अ डेथ ऑफ डिस्टेंस बिकॉज ऑफ इंटरनेट एंड टेक्नोलॉजी। ये जो डिस्टेंस है उसका कोई वजूद ही नहीं है। तो चाहे आप पूना में बैठे हैं, सतारा में बैठे हैं या कहीं भी बैठे हैं, बॉम्बे में बैठे हैं, मान लीजिए आपको कोई काम यूएस से आता है, तो क्या आप वो काम नहीं कर सकते? जरूर कर सकते हैं। अपने को अपनी होराइजन खोलनी है, अपने को अपनी शक्ति खोलनी है और ये पॉसिबल करना है और ये डेफिनेटली पॉसिबल होगा इन द टाइम्स टू कम। आपके लाइफ टाइम में तो आप जरूर देखेंगे कि ये 100% पॉसिबल होगा। अच्छा, अभी कुछ दूसरे विषय पे आता हूं कि एक इंग्लिश में कहावत है, हिंदी में बोलूंगा चलेगा ना? सब हिंदी समझते हैं ना? थैंक यू। इतनी अच्छी नहीं है मेरी हिंदी, बट फिर भी कोशिश करूंगा। एक इंग्लिश में कहावत है, ग्रास इज ग्रीनर ऑन द अदर साइड ऑफ द कोर्ट। आपने सबने सुना होगा, पढ़ा होगा। तो हमेशा ये लगता ही रहता है, जैसे जब मैं बैठा हूं, मेरे प्रैक्टिस करता हूं, मुझे लगता है अरे वो इंडस्ट्री वाला महेंद्र जी अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं, मैं तो नहीं कर रहा हूं अच्छा काम। सो इट इज ऑलवेज द केस। बट देखिए, संतोष रखना चाहिए जो आप खुद कर रहे हैं और आपकी खुद की कैपेसिटी पे आपको भरोसा होना चाहिए। अगर आप जो भी काम करते हैं वो काम अच्छा करें और उसमें प्रोग्रेस करें। और ये क्या है, दीज आर स्मॉल स्टेप्स। एक बार आप छोटे छोटे कदम लेंगे तो आप ऊंचाइयों तक पहुंचेंगे ही पहुंचेंगे। बशक्कत हार्ड वर्क करना पड़ेगा। आपने चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी किया है इसलिए मुझे बोलना नहीं चाहिए, बिकॉज सभी को पता है दैट चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बन नहीं सकते अनलेस, आपको तो पता ही है, हार्ड वर्क। बट ऑल दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से, डोंट स्टॉप हार्ड वर्क, प्लीज डोंट स्टॉप। आपने क्वालिफिकेशन ले लिया इसलिए अभी बोले नहीं अभी शांति है, चलो हो गया, एग्जाम हो गया, अभी एग्जाम तो देनी नहीं है। नहीं, एग्जाम हर दिन आपकी एग्जाम होगी, लाइफ में हर दिन एग्जाम होगी। इसलिए डोंट थिंक दैट देयर आर एनी शॉर्टकट्स, और शॉर्टकट कभी लेना भी नहीं, ये भी मैं आपको बताऊंगा। तो आपको लगेगा कि आपका वो दूसरा दोस्त है वो आगे निकल गया, भाई उसने शॉर्टकट लिया तो कहाँ आगे पहुंच गया, बट मैं आपको बता दूं कि ये फॉर्मूला चलता ही नहीं लाइफ में। और ये मैं मेरी एक्सपीरियंस से कहता हूं कि शॉर्टकट कभी काम नहीं आता है। आपको तो सीधे रास्ते चलना चाहिए और लॉन्ग कट में चलना चाहिए। एंड दैट ब्रिंग्स मी टू अनदर वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग पिलर ऑफ द प्रोफेशन, विच इज एथिक्स। बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, और प्रोफेशन के लिए नहीं, मैं तो कहता हूं कि सारे भारतवर्ष में सभी सिटीजनों के लिए एथिक्स इज वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट। और अगर हम एथिकल रास्ते चले, एंड स्पेशली एज अ प्रोफेशन, तो हमको एथिकल रास्ते चलना ही चाहिए। तो जब तक हम एथिकल रास्ते पे चलेंगे हमारा प्रोग्रेस होगा ही होगा, ये मान के चले। तो इसीलिए उसमें कोई भी शॉर्टकट मत लगाइएगा, कॉम्प्रोमाइज मत करिएगा, फॉलो द पाथ ऑफ एक्सेलेंस। आपको कभी लगेगा शॉर्ट टर्म में कि नहीं 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 ये मेरे होता नहीं मेरे से, या ये मैं करूंगा तो मैं पीछे रह जाऊंगा वगैरह वगैरह, तो इसलिए मैं नॉन एथिकल कोई चीज करूं या शॉर्टकट लूं, इधर मत करिए। फॉलो द पाथ ऑफ एथिक्स एंड यू विल गेट सॉलिड रिजल्ट्स। अभी मैं एक दो चीजें जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं और आप लोग माहिर हैं उसमें, मैं माहिर नहीं हूं, ये भी मैं एडमिट करता हूं। टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बिकॉज जो हमारा पूरा काम करने की जो सिस्टम है वो पूरी टेक्नोलॉजी पे निर्भर करती है। आप लोग तो, आई नीड नॉट टेल यू व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, बिकॉज यू आर more experts than I am as far as technology is concerned. But embrace technology and embrace it for the betterment of your work and career. Again, technology has a flip side as well, so please be careful on that. For example, your WhatsApp University, Facebook, jokes, quotations, भरपूर आते हैं। मैंने मेरा व्हाट्सएप देखा नहीं है, लेकिन अभी मैं जब देखूंगा तो 500, कम से कम 500 मैसेज होंगे। क्या मुझे देखना है? नहीं, मैं देखता भी नहीं हूँ। मैं आई एम टेलिंग यू वेरी ऑनेस्टली, मैं पढ़ता भी नहीं हूँ। मैं काफ़ी ग्रुपों में भी हूँ। कई बार क्या होता है कि कुछ ग्रुपों में आपको डाल देते हैं, निकलना पॉसिबल नहीं होता है। जो अगर आप निकले तो बोले हाँ ये क्या समझता है अपने आप, ग्रुप से निकल गए। आप चुपचाप रहो, पर बिल्कुल देखो नहीं उसको। सो फ्लिप साइड इज बी फोकस्ड, डोंट डाइवर्ट योर अटेंशन, बिकॉज क्या डाइवर्शन बहुत हो जाता है और आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा, टाइम कैसे निकल जाएगा पता नहीं चलेगा। आप 1, 1.5, 2 घंटे निकल जाएंगे, आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा कैसे निकल गए। एंड दैट इज एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ यू आर डूइंग समथिंग मोर प्रोडक्टिव ड्यूरिंग दैट टाइम। इसलिए वो एक बहुत जरूरी चीज है। सो टेक्नोलॉजी, एज आई सेड, जो अच्छी चीजें हैं उसको हार्नेस करो, डेवलप करो, उसमें प्रोग्रेस करो। जो बुरी चीजें हैं, अगेन आई एम नॉट एट ऑल सजेस्टिंग, मैं फेसबुक पे भी हूँ, व्हाट्सएप पे भी हूँ, लिंक्डइन पे भी हूँ, सभी पे हूँ। जितने सोशल नेटवर्क है सभी पे हूँ मैं। देखता नहीं हूँ मैं, वो दूसरी बात है, बट हूँ सही, क्योंकि आपको भी जानकारी होनी चाहिए क्या हो रहा है। ऐसा नहीं कि आप बिल्कुल उससे वंचित रहे, वो मैं नहीं कहता हूँ। आपको व्हाट्सएप पे भी रहना चाहिए, सभी पे रहना चाहिए, बट do it in a very calibrated way so that it doesn't impact you, it doesn't harm you, it doesn't waste your time. So that is as far as technology is concerned. And of course, again, जो मैं कह रहा हूँ कोई नई बात नहीं है, but I want to repeat it because you are starting your careers. आप लोग अभी लाइफ में आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। That life is a constant learning. ये एक अपने दिमाग में बिठा दीजिए। मैं आज भी लर्न करता हूँ, दो आई एम अ सीनियर सिटीजन नाउ, बट आई स्टिल लर्न। मैं मेरे जूनियर से भी लर्न करता हूँ। मेरे ऑफिस में जूनियर को बुला के बिठाता हूँ, उससे मैं सीखता हूँ, बताओ कैसे एक्सेल कैसे यूज करना, ये कैसे यूज करना, वर्ड कैसे यूज करना, सीखता हूँ और मेरे को शौक है सीखने का। सो ऑलवेज कीप योर माइंड ओपन टू न्यू लर्निंग्स एंड मेक इट अ कॉन्स्टेंट, डोंट स्टैग्नेट। ऑल दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज कि पीपल स्टैग्नेट इन लाइफ। सीए बन गए, अब तो बड़ी डिग्री मिल गई, 3,25,000 सी है, सिर्फ 125 करोड़ में है, तो बोले हो गया सी है? नहीं, दैट्स नॉट द एंड, यू हैव टू स्टिल गो फर्दर। कपल ऑफ थिंग्स ऑन योर सोशल साइड, लेट मी अगेन, मुझे बुलाया गया था प्रोफेशन के लिए, बट अतुल जी माफ करिए, मैं प्रोफेशन से जरा हट के दूसरी चीजों पर भी बात करना चाहता हूँ, इफ यू परमिट। दैट बैलेंस योर लाइफ। अगेन वो मैंने देखा है, कई बार छोटे छोटे बच्चे होते हैं मेरे ऑफिस में भी, बहुत टेंस्ड होते हैं और इतना वो दे गेट टेंस्ड, बट ट्राई एंड डू बैलेंसिंग इन योर लाइफ ऑलवेज। डोंट बी वर्कहॉलिक एंड एट द सेम टाइम डोंट इग्नोर योर life as well, because you're youngsters, you'll get married, you'll have families, you have parents to look after. Don't ignore that, it's very important. So balancing in life is a very important mantra which you should keep in mind. Be grateful to your parents. ये मैंने देखा है, कई बार क्या होता है, हम चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट बन गए, फादर मदर तो पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, तो बोले अरे वो तो अनपढ़ है, या फिर इतने पढ़े लिखे नहीं है, मैं तो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हूँ। बट ये सोचिए कि जब आप छोटे थे तब आपको किसने बड़ा किया? आपको चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट किसने बनाया? उन्हीं ने बनाया है। उनका ऋण कभी आप अदा कर ही नहीं पाएंगे, लाइफ में कभी नहीं कर पाएंगे। इसलिए प्लीज प्लीज माय अर्नेस्ट रिक्वेस्ट कि टेक केयर ऑफ योर पेरेंट्स एंड योर फैमिली, मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट। कई बार हमारे नशे में हम भूल जाते हैं, एक बार हम सक्सेसफुल होते जाते हैं जैसे लाइफ में, वैसे हम भूलते जाते हैं। बट आपके पेरेंट्स का जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है आपकी लाइफ में, ये कभी नहीं भूलना आप। बी ग्रेटफुल टू देम एंड टेक केयर ऑफ देम एंड सी दैट दे लीड अ गुड लाइफ फॉर एवर। Coming to, you'll get married, all of you, you're youngsters, you'll have children, so invest in your children, वो भी जरूरी है। और ये गलती मैंने भी की है, इसलिए मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको कि प्लीज डोंट डू दैट मिस्टेक. गिव टाइम टू योर चिल्ड्रन ऑल्सो. उनको अच्छा एजुकेशन दो, पैसे दो, ये दो, वो सब तो बराबर है, बट टाइम भी देना ये जरूरी है. मेरी एक छोटी बच्ची है, शी इज राइट नाउ इन 10th, 10वीं कक्षा में है और स्कूल में है, उसको अकाउंट्स पढ़ाते हैं. मैं खुद बैठता हूँ उसके साथ अकाउंट्स के लिए, उसमें मैं भी सीखता हूँ. कई क्वेश्चन है, आई ऑल्सो गेट बैफल्ड समटाइम, जो क्वेश्चन आते हैं अकाउंट्स के, तो मैं खुद बैठता हूँ. इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज द यंग चिल्ड्रन नीड योर टाइम. और मैं आपको बताऊं, द क्वालिटी टाइम विच यू विल गिव टू योर चिल्ड्रन आपके टीचर्स नहीं दे पाएंगे. टीचर्स का एक कनेक्ट होता है, जरूर होता है, ऐसा नहीं होता है, बट पेरेंट्स का जो कनेक्ट होता है वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, और उसको आप प्लीज इग्नोर मत करिएगा, और उसको भी आप टाइम दीजिएगा. Do not take success in your head, because I have seen many people who become successful take success in their head. अरे मैं तो फेमस हो गया, मैं चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हो गया, मैं इस कंपनी का फलाना फलाना डायरेक्टर बन गया, so on and so forth. Don't take it to your head. Humility is a best, is a good principle. Follow the path of humility. Always be humble. Always see, what you can do for the society. And that brings me to the next point, which अतुल जी आपने जो बताया, MVPM, जो आज मेरे को अतुल जी अभी हम नाश्ता कर रहे थे, बता रहे थे कि 350 पास स्टूडेंट्स आज ये संस्था रन कर रहे हैं. यही मैं आपसे भी एक्सपेक्ट करता हूं. आपने इस संस्था में रह के आपने बेनिफिट लिया है, और इस संस्था का जो आपका सक्सेस है, जो आपके सीए बनने का सक्सेस है, उसमें कुछ योगदान है, भूलिएगा मत. और लाइफ में भी आप ये मत भूलिएगा कि यू आर पार्ट ऑफ द सोसाइटी. इसीलिए आप इसी एज से, यू आर वेरी यंग नाउ, बट इसी एज से मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूं कि आप बहुत ज्यादा टाइम आप सोसाइटी को दीजिए, बट कुछ समय आप निकालिए सोसाइटी के लिए. जब मैं कह रहा हूं सोसाइटी के लिए, मतलब कि कुछ अच्छा काम सोसाइटी के लिए करिए, और MVPM इज वन ऑफ देम. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, कि जो डिफिकल्टीज आपने देखी थी, और आप जैसे इस संस्था में आए, और इट वॉज होम अवे फ्रॉम होम, इफ यू हैव स्टेड इन द हॉस्टल, ट्राई टू सी दैट आपकी जो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन आ रही है, फ्यूचर की जनरेशन, उसको भी आप कुछ दे सके. तो ये भी एक आप इनकलकेट कर लीजिए आपके माइंड में, दैट आई वांट टू गिव बैक टू दी सोसाइटी. एक चीज अक्सर देखा है कि फेलियर से लोग हताश हो जाते हैं, और कुछ बच्चे तो बहुत हताश हो जाते हैं. ये भी नहीं होना चाहिए. आप तो सीए हो, इसलिए मुझे बताना नहीं चाहिए, but I am sure you have seen failures in your life, but don't get lost because of failures. देखिए, कुछ भी चीज परमानेंट नहीं होती लाइफ में, हर चीज बदलती है. आपका जैसे सक्सेस होता है वो बदलता है, फेलियर होता है वो बदलता है, सब कुछ बदलता है. इसलिए फेलियर को टेक इट इन द स्ट्राइड, एंड टेक इट इन अ वेरी पॉजिटिव सेंस, कि फेलियर आई है, मुझे कुछ सिखाने आई है. एंड एवरी फेलियर विल टीच यू. यू विल मेक मिस्टेक्स इन लाइफ, हर एक करता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं आज भी करता हूँ मिस्टेक्स मेरी लाइफ में भी, पर वो मिस्टेक से अगर मैं सीखूं तो मुझे आगे बढ़ने की I get more vigor to go ahead in life. इसीलिए एक वो ध्यान रखिएगा कि फेलियर को don't take it to your mind, let it come, take it positively, and convert it into more and more success, and you'll progress in life. एक और मैं बात आपसे शेयर करना चाहता हूं, that start your spiritual journey also from now. Again, you are young, so maybe you don't need to be spiritual. कब होते हैं? मेरे जैसे बाल सफेद हो जाते हैं, गिर जाते हैं, फिर सोचते हैं चलो अभी भगवान को याद करें, but don't do that. I'm urging to you that give little time of your entire daily schedule to spirituality also. You do yoga, meditation, whatever you're good at, please pursue that and progress in that. So ultimately, we want to get out of this miseries of life, and as our scriptures have said, that ultimately अपना क्या है goal, that सबको मोक्ष में जाना है, मोक्ष पाना है सबको. इसीलिए start that journey right now. Don't ignore. उसको आप छोड़ मत दीजिए. जो भी आपका पैशन है, जो भी आप meditation, like for example, I am following vipassana meditation. So if you are interested in any kind of meditation, please do that. It will help you strengthening your mind also, your body also. It will have a positive impact on your health also. Very important. Health की भी बहुत ध्यान रखिए, because again I have seen many children getting completely swayed away. They don't take care of their health and just run after money, or take unnecessary tensions and stress in life which spoil their health. So please take care of your health also right from now. And of course, finally, be good citizens of India and contribute to the progress which India is making. I would like to once again thank MVPM for inviting me to this very important dialogue with the youngsters, and I'm sure the bright minds will succeed, and not only succeed in life, but they'll achieve something, and they'll contribute immensely to the progress of the nation as well. So good luck to all of you, and thank you very much for a patient hearing. Thank you.
As they all say, we have a very famous saying that you become what you think you are. And I think in the last 35 minutes, we got some pearls of wisdom which gives us the idea of how to think. I am sure that after this speech, you will not wait for the tips from the stockbroker and not hope to make good audit fee, but when you sign the balance sheet, you will see yourself signing the future of many small retail investors. You will stop acting like a retail investor, you will start protecting them. I think when you complete your CA, you are at a junction, and there are many roads that can open from there, and I think we now know which road to take. We learnt about how to continuously learn, and then I think something very important, Kamlesh ji said that work from home can become work from the country. I think these are the kind of revolutionary, innovative ideas which look very outrageous today, but this becomes a reality because of the vision that these kind of people provide. And sir, आप सब्जेक्ट से भटक नहीं रहे थे, जो भटके हुए उनको सब्जेक्ट पे ला रहे थे. In fact, if there is any question for Kamlesh sir, please, it's your time now. I think it was an excellent discourse, and I would like to now invite our next speaker. All of us are Marwadis, right? All of us are Marwadis, so a lot of us may not be going for a job, but we may be looking for a practice, right? How many of you are going to go for a practice and not for a job? Yeah. So the next session is resume building and interviewing technique. Let me just tell you one thing, that if you are going for a job, you have to appear for one interview, and most of the time is Don't get excited. We are just about to get interview techniques, not yet. So, when you are going for a job, you just need one interview to clear, and most of the time your degree will have the weight enough, irrespective of how you come across. But if you are going for a practice, then please remember you are going to be interviewed every single day, and your resume will be evaluated every single day, because every new person or client you meet, you will have to get his approval before you get progress in your dealings with him. In the job, it's easier, but so therefore, don't discount this session because I'm going to go for practice, so kya farak padta hai yaar, right? And then let me introduce Mr. Jacob, and I'm sure you have seen his profile. He is an expert without parallel in human interaction, and he is an expert counselor, guide, and he has told me that, look, 1 hour is not enough for me to even get started, right? But I said, sir, we have 1 hour, because there are a lot of these techniques which he deploys, and as you can see from his CV that he is an internationally accredited and acknowledged uh, expert in this area. He has and is working with a large US bank, Capital One. So I request you to make the maximum use of his presence. And sir, thank you once again for agreeing to participate with us today. Stage is yours, please.
A very good morning to everybody. Very MVP, Mahendraji, my sincere appreciation for the work that you do at MVP. I've heard over breakfast all the things that I was privy to, and I think this is the right time to appreciate the work that you all do, and you're all part of it. So I'd like you all to give yourselves a round of applause. Generally, I'm not used to standing like this and addressing a large audience. My work generally involves either one-on-one or very small groups wherein I have the opportunity to interact and speak with you. Our topic for the day, yes, is of course building a resume, and of course how do you appear for interviews. Yeah. But I'm going to take the liberty, with your permission, to go a little deeper inside, because I was having a conversation, and all what you want to find these days is over the internet. So I'm not going to go and spoon feed you into how to write a resume. My apologies, because you will find everything that you need. Okay. But having said that, what I would like to help you appreciate and get into is a little deeper. What goes beyond that? But yes, to start off, the resume definitely is your calling card. It's like your visiting card. Yeah. And we will explore some of those things as to how you can refine it and fine tune it. But we will not get into the depths of it, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Please don't ask me for a template. You will get multiple templates on the internet, and it is. Can you reduce the volume a little bit, because I think I'm pretty loud. It may kind of resonate. Yeah. So my primary objective here is to, of course, yeah, thoda kam kar dijiye. Yeah, thank you. Is to help you understand a little bit about yourself, and in the process how you can tweak some of these tools, which is the resume, and of course being aware of how you need to be prepared for an interview, which is your first knock on the door, right? It's just the foot in the door to start off with. Yeah. So with that context, you're welcome again, to this fine morning. And I think after Kamlesh ji spoke all that, I think I'm humbled. I mean, I don't have much to say because he's spoken about a lot, and I just hope I come somewhere closer to doing justice to the whole thing. Yeah. But having said that, I totally appreciate your time and attention. Great. So I'd like to do things a little differently, and what I want you to do is fold your hands, please. Okay. Now, when you fold your hands, you will see that one hand of yours is on the other hand, and I'd like you to focus on which hand of yours is on the other hand. Your right hand is over your left hand, okay? I'd like you to do something different. Now reverse it. कैसा लग रहा है? Very, what's the word? Sorry? Uncomfortable, thank you very much. See, I am somebody, as a trained behavioral analyst, I read between the lines. So please feel free to share some of those words and lines, because only then I'll be able to put perspective onto those, okay? Yeah. So it feels uncomfortable, right? क्या बात है? Let me just highlight some interesting facets for you here. Okay, I'm going to, in the course of my conversation, also talk about a bit of neurobiology, because that's how we are wired. And sometimes we don't realize how we are because that's how we are. Right? To give you an analogy, it's like the fish in the bowl. Right? It doesn't realize it's in the water until it is pulled out. Yeah? So, the takeaway for you here is that we live very connected lives. Yeah? What is jo dikhta hai wo? Please feel free to fill in my blanks. The least I know that you are attentive. And also, and thank you. Yes, that's very important. So I need you to be awake all throughout, not only for this session, but also throughout the day and the subsequent days when the G is organized for you all. Well, now what happens is all of us are wired differently. Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I'd like you to raise your hands if you are people who get angry very fast. Be honest about it. There's no harm. Anger as an emotion is all right. The appropriateness is questionable. Okay? So because I saw some hands go very slowly up. All right. How many of you have a lot of friends? It's all right. It's good to have a lot of friends. Yeah, so, with conviction, please. Hold your hand up. All right. How many of you are the ones who are cool and calm as a cucumber? Jo bhi ho gaya, hone do. चल रहा है तो चलने दो. हाँ? CA वैसे वही नहीं सकते. I'll come to that. I'm just going to grab my water. मैडम ने अभी ही आपको डिस्क्रेडिट कर दिया, बोले CA लोग ऐसे हो नहीं सकते. Thank you, sir. I'm coming to that. How many of us are nitty-gritty oriented, analytical, calculative, बाल की खाल को उधेड़ने के? literally, you know, data crunches or data oriented. Are आप लोग CA हो यार? Come on, you can't. Yeah. So it's interesting to know that all of us are a mix of all these four. Yeah, and it's very important for us to be aware. Self-awareness is one of the primary tenets of anything that you do. Yeah. I like to applaud you, appreciate you that you have crossed a major threshold in life and qualified as chartered accountants. One of the highest and the most coveted professions for sure. Yeah. So appreciation for that for sure. But having said that, remember what has got you till there. Will it take you ahead? Is a big question. And that's a question you need to ask yourselves. Yeah. The CV is a starting point. Yeah. If you see against the backdrop of the last 2.5 years, I work a lot internationally as well. There has been a marked shift in the way people are thinking. Yeah. Have you been able to notice some of these changes? क्या आप book में ही lost थे? Sorry? Yes, please. There's no wrong answer, right? It's all right answer. I'd like this to be interactive. Yeah, because we're all unique and we're all, we have our own questions and our own thoughts and ideas, which I'd like you to anchor and bring forth. Absolutely. Right. So, any other thoughts? Any other? Yes, sir. Yes. Fantastic. Never has been there a greater need for our need to adapt. The need for what we call change in organizational context, in corporates. Yeah. And there are little things. Your ability to be uncomfortable. Yeah. That is going to be one of your turning points in whatever you do. Yeah. How many of us are very comfortable with? I was after I committed to Mahendraji, I did some research myself. I was talking to some of the CFOs and some of the finance professionals and the very senior professionals who I happen to have the honor of coaching, because that's what I do for a living, executive coaching. And there were some interesting facets and fascinating insights they shared. And I was asking them, what do you expect from the young, say a chartered accountant who's going to join you? Yeah. And they said, if I can sum it, most of what they said, they say, if I can sum it, they said, we need them to be open. Yeah, open in their minds, to be flexible, yeah, in the ways of doing things. Yeah. Now I understand, and let me give you a little perspective of neurobiology, where I come from. We have a left brain and a right brain, right? So what about the left brain? What does it do? Okay. How many of you are right-handed? Okay. Most of us. Okay. How many of us are left-handed? Yeah, please me after the session. Okay. So these are interesting concepts. You see, our brains are cross-wired. So generally, right-handed people, left brain functioning is a little, like we say, active. The left ones, it's the right brain. Now, research, and of course this is medical, has proved that right brain thinkers, when I say right brain thinkers, that there's a lot of activity and usage of the right brain happens. Yeah. Typically, right brain people, like we say, are what we call spatial in terms of their perspective to the world. They are far more creative. They are far more in the world of colors, concepts, conceptual in nature. They also have this innate ability to connect and build relationships. The left brain, on the other hand, obviously the opposite of it, are more logical, analytical, structured, number crunchers, data oriented, facts, figure, yeah. And the ability for us to marry these two is very critical. Yeah. If you see a CV, if you're writing, what are you using? Which part of the brain are you mostly using? Sorry? Left brain. Why? It's a summation. Yeah. It's right. Fantastic. Yeah. It's an organization of your whatever you've done. Yeah, in an itemized fashion. Yeah. So you see, there's a lot of leaning to the left brain, right? Yeah. Now, you will not kind of do injustice to that part because jo hai so hai, right? You facts, figures, data, you cannot do anything to that unless you have an intent to fabricate. No, right? We trust that we are all maintaining the highest form of integrity here. So you cannot go wrong there. What is of value is the other part of it. Is one, the presentation of that data. Your ability to articulate the manner you communicate that data to someone. Am I making sense? Yeah. We'll have a Q&A time, towards the end, so you feel free to ask questions. Yeah. Yeah. While you are able to capture data in its form, because what you have done, the number of years of experience, your school, college, all that is definitely meant. It is generally written in a reverse chronological order. That means your immediate, most current, and then you reverse back. Yeah, you know all that. They are very elementary, data, resume building, techniques. And you will find dime a dozen of these templates. Now, what is going to be of value is the other half of it, as to how are you creating or communicating that data such that it appeals to somebody. The biggest question for us when I'm on the recruiting side, when I'm sitting on interview boards, is what value can you add? Why should I choose you specifically over 50, 100, 120 people that have appeared? Yeah. So what is your USP going to be there? What are those distinguishing factors? Any thoughts from those? Like I said, there are no wrong answers. Please feel free. The only wrong answer is the one you didn't, or the wrong question is the one you didn't think was worth asking. So please. Sorry, what's that? Okay, beautiful. A template in the form of its look and feel. That's one part of it. Because they say na, jo dikhta hai. But reality वही है, and professionals, who spend time in the industry will tell you, जो दिखता है. Yeah, it's like the classic divide between HR and finance. My earlier this thing was in HR. So HR वाला बोलता है, बस जो दिखता है वो होता नहीं है. Marketing वाला उल्टा बोलता है, जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So it's important to understand what is the primary role you are applying for. And auditor तो बोलता है जो दिखता है, उसको मैं दिखा के मैं प्रूव करूंगा. फिर after I sign, then it is what do you call it? So of course you all will have choices to make. Either corporate होगा, big fours होगा, your audit firms, or you would have dreams of starting on your own, or your own practices and things like that. That's something which is definitely going to be, I don't know whether it is a challenge for you or no, because those are the questions that come up. कि अभी मैं क्या करूं? Yeah? And I think Your seniors would be the best people to tell you what. But in my humble opinion, it's always good to get your hands dirty. Jump into the fray, get into the trenches, जो बोलते हैं. Learn. Be open to learning and absorb like a sponge. फिर उसके बाद, based on that platform, you can go ahead and do a lot of things. However, let's come back to that. The way somebody decides whether he needs to take a look at your resume or no is very important, because that's the way you're presenting it to him. Yeah. Now, of course, there are multiple fancy formats. ये है, color होगा, ये होगा, वो होगा. You know, I will leave that to the best, to your judgment. But also do consult of what is most relevant in the industry now. पहले पूरा fancy आता था. Color blue, ये highlight red, web links, ये links, all that. However, now you see the trend has become more real, on the ground, practical. It's like, boss, let me see the person in totality. What I need is the person, what he can do in terms of adding value for me as I have him on board, and what can he do for me in the future. And that's where I want you to think a little differently. Yeah, that's where you would probably need to look at the structure of your thing very differently. People are now looking at things like, what is the purpose or your objective of your career? Yeah, likhte na. Some of us, and I've read that myself, fancy, I'm going to be the gift to the world peace in you. Well, all that is fine if you're appearing for a beauty pageant, world peace and all. Because in the world of CAs, if I may put it, you are looking at concrete. Yeah, you're looking at concrete structure, data analysis. Yeah, in the world of abstracts, if you're going for a marketing job, then you would probably make it a little flowery, and frills and all that. However, it is important for you also to think on those lines. How are you going to be setting yourself apart from the crowd? What is that unique value proposition that you bring to the people? Yeah. Have you thought on those lines? And can you share with me, some insight? कुछ भी सोचा होगा आपने, what makes you distinctly different in a way of sorts? Yes? Fantastic. Right. What else? Good. Appreciate. It is always good to cultivate an attitude of appreciation, and that will stand you long in your career, wherever you go. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Good. Anything else? Now, I would like you to think back. Ask yourself, you have lived life for so long, right? What have you done apart from your normal studies, education? Yeah. It could be extracurriculars, it could be sports, it could be how you have contributed back to society. Little acts, little effort, little things that you have done. Because that and that alone are going to be some of the distinguishing factors that will help you make an impression. क्योंकि सभी ने तो किया है एजुकेशन, सभी ने, अरे आप सीए हो, टॉकिंग, इतने सारे तो ऑलरेडी पास आउट होके निकले हैं. What is the differentiator? Yeah, and that starts with one, your resume for sure. Yeah, the way you present it, the way you write, the way you articulate your thoughts, in order to communicate what you can do differently for. Because in the corporate, in the real life, like we say, on the floor, what is going to help you and take you ahead is your sheer ability to think out of the box. Because you are already trained to think in the box.
Right? Yes or no? Yeah. You are qualified to think in the box. Now that doesn't mean to state, or that doesn't imply that आप compliance को दूर रखेंगे. नहीं नहीं. That's an integral part of any existent, any corporate. Compliance is one of the key tenets, key pillars on which the organization stands. So compliance for sure, but at the end of the day, you will also have to look at some of the finer aspects or the nuances of it, or the softer aspects of it. It could be what? Spell it aloud. Your interpersonal relationships. Your abilities to communicate clearly, succinctly, articulately. Your ability to carry yourself well. Yeah. This your first impression is what? That's the starting point. After that, everything comes. Once you have the foot in the door, then the other things come. Let me also highlight here, as a behavioral analyst, and I'm looking at it more deeper from a point of view of how all of us are wired. There is what we call a natural behavior and an adapted behavior. Yeah? Most of what we see in here is what? Thank you very much, ma'am. Adapted behavior. Right? And why is it adapted? One at a time, please. Yeah. Yes. We are surrounded by people. Yes, who's it? Ah, thank you very much. Good one. We are not in a comfort zone. So being aware of the fact that when you're in your comfort zone, there's a tendency for you to slip back, relax, slump into your natural behavior. The question is, does it help or no? Yes, no? No? Now, this is where I want to highlight a certain aspect. There are three things that you need to remember. A is your attitude. It's your disposition. Bolte na fitrat, wiring, how you are wired. Yeah? That may take you a lot of places if it's positive. Yeah? So, what we do sometimes when we help executives is we call a checkup from the neck up. It's called checkup from the neck up. It is essentially to understand how are we disposed. Do we see the rainbow or the sunshine in every possibility, every situation? Is that an outlook of optimism or pessimism? Nahi ho sakta. Because the outlook of positivity and optimism will open far more doors for you. You will find avenues to make things work. Yeah, and let me share with you, your profile or your CV itself should reflect a positive outlook. Ki padke, wow, maza aa gaya. Chalo, let's meet it. Because I will tell you in practicality, real thing, I must not say this in open forum. Many times when you are confronted with 200, 450 CVs, what do? What is done generally? नहीं सर, वो sorting computer में होता है. If you don't have the what you call privilege of what is this, your Naukri.com and all, if you don't see, it is data, right? It is paper. Just grab the first lot. He says, sir, क्या हो गया उसको? I need lucky people to work with me. Huh? This is a reality, gentlemen, ladies. And sometimes and this is because what do? The hiring recruiter, he has a task to do. At the end, by the end of X amount of hours, he needs to ensure that he has 10 candidates. Now, if he has 120 people, where is the practicality in it? If he can go and sift and sort through all those 4. If he has interns, then he will give them that job. बच्चे लोगों को काम पे बिठाओ, and they go through and they finally. वहाँ से भी they 150 से 100 तो निकलता है. Literally, they were able to just discard it. So then it becomes a process of elimination. Yeah, and that is where we have to be aware. Where do we project and portray the whole thing such that it has positive outlook? Yeah, and that also carries forward if we are fortunate to be shortlisted and also invited for the interview. Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you picked up till now? Come on, come on. Yes, please. Self-awareness. Very good. Positive outlook. Yeah. Very good. What else? Go on. Yeah, the right attitude, the positive attitude, the right disposition. Yeah, because without which, whatever effort we may have will go south. Yeah. What else? Fantastic. Our ability to be open, flexible, and adaptable. That's the key word. Yeah. One of the other things that some of the senior people shared with me is your ability to learn. Learnability quotient jo bolte hai. That is of the highest order here. Of course, with no what we call discrediting to your profession or your professional qualifications. But having said that, that has just been a threshold. You have just crossed a threshold. Uske aage, what is going to help is some of these aspects. Yeah. Now, coming back to the behavioral side of things. We spoke about the CV, the format, the manner in which you present, the big picture or the perspective which you would want to portray to the prospective employer. Okay, the value that you can add. Okay, how are you going to differentiate yourself? And you can draw from all the things that you have done earlier in life, which may not be academic. So let me reaffirm and reinstate that. There could be little things that you have done. It could be organizing something, maybe what? Give me some events or seminars. What else? It could be a picnic. It could be planning something, And these are some of the questions that they're going to definitely ask you in the interview for sure. Because these are what we call BEI, or behavioral event interview. Yeah? And I would like to also share a specific technique. We don't have, like we say, the time to go into too many of the detailed versions of that. However, I'm going to leave you with a small technique which is called the STAR. You must have read about it. STAR. Yeah, yeah. You know about it? You've heard about it? Okay. Let me okay. Yes. No. Okay. Okay. These are specifically. Sorry, was that? You were sharing something? Yeah. Yeah. So these are specifically things to highlight what have you done differently. Yeah. S stands for the situation, the context. Yeah. So the interviewer may specifically ask you a question. Tell me about a time when you handled a conflict situation, or let me know how you planned an event. Yeah. So he's looking for things more than what you bring to the table in terms of concrete. He wants to know your ability to handle what? Sorry, was that? Situation? Yeah. What else? Sorry, was that? If at all there is adversity, because that's like pressure situations, because not everything will line up. You will definitely have to, we call it jugaad of sorts. But the objective is not to know how jugadu we are. No, the objective is to know how resilient we are. Our ability to bounce back if at all there is a setback. Or say, "Arey yaar, kuch nahi hoga." It's like that. So it's just a click. It's a switch in the mind. Yeah, you have to travel to some place. I'm giving you a very inane example, but however, you have to travel to some point, and it's raining. What do? Take an umbrella, go in a vehicle, go in a car. Does that hold you back from not doing? Correct. That's the whole point. And organizations, institutions, the leaders want to know how are you going to translate your ability in your head, or your knowledge, or your skill that you have learned? How can you translate that into action? Yeah? And there is sometimes the huge challenge. That is the time you realize that it is not, as easy as it is. Yeah? That's the time when you realize that you have to jump into the fray. You have to jump into the fray, take the leap of faith. You have to get your hands dirty. Yeah? And what they want is initiative from you. Yeah? The ability to take initiative. And not say, "Arey sir, ye hai, wo hai." The ability to take initiative stands as one of the highest prerequisites that you need. So in your CV, and as well as in the interview that you go for, your ability to take initiative will definitely set you apart. Yeah? And instances, yeah, where you have highlighted or showcased that ability. So that's why you speak of the situation. Yeah? What is the situation or the context? Yeah? T is the task. What would it require you to do? What is the task entailed? What did you need to do to translate that into STA, action? Very simple. Yeah? Actionable. Yeah? And what has been the response to that? Yeah? STAR, very simple formula. So always remember to send it through this perspective of things. You get a question, you say, okay, star. मैंने क्या किया था situation में? What was the context of this whole thing? Yeah? What was I expected to do, or what did I do? What are the specific actionables or steps that I took in order to translate my understanding into a R, which is a result? Yeah? It's a tangible result. Always remember also to ask for a feedback. I call it feed forward. Never shy away from a feed forward. And it's just a mindset, huh? Feedback kya hai? Many times people say, "Arey, feedback is like a cheer fart, like this, post-mortem of things." No. If you look at it as feed forward, that means it is giving you input, impetus, data to move forward. We can embrace it in totality. Because many a times, you hear in the company, "Arey, abhi boss dega, feedback dega." So feedback is for everything, because appraisal time especially, But now the rules of appraisal are also changing. No more will you have all these fancy appraisal this thing. Now it's all some of the progressive organizations, it is one pager. It's one page. It's self-appraisal more, and our ability. So the mindset of organizations are also evolving and changing. Yeah, they are more now enabling of sorts. They employ people like me, like coaches, to help people to get over their perceptual barriers. Yeah, perceptual barriers क्या होते हैं? हाँ, क्या बात है? कैसे क्रिएट होते हैं सर वो? Boundary, correct. Self-limiting beliefs बोलते हैं उसको. Where we limit ourselves because of our belief system. Yeah? Sorry? Could be, very good. Past thoughts, what else? Preconceived notions, excellent. Yeah, tali ho jaye. Banta hai. Yeah. Preconceived notions or assumptions we call it. Please stay clear of your assumptions. आपकी कोई भी assumption हो, please validate it. Please challenge it. It could be for even resume writing. If you have an assumption कि अरे नहीं ये चलता है नहीं, please check, please ratify, please ask. Yeah? Validate your assumptions with what? With facts, figures, data. Yeah? Please ensure that you connect with people who have gone ahead of you. One of the most critical things, and I'm going to share this incident with you. I was coaching this mid-level finance executive senior chartered accountant again. One of the impediments in his career as such has been attributed to his not being able to connect with people. This is the reality of this thing. And I have seen some of the, senior people also go through these challenges at times. Because let's understand, the role and the disposition of a CA is very black and white. Right? Black and white यानी क्या हुआ? Wrong और right भी आ गया. Now when it is wrong or right, क्या हो गया? Haji, what are the challenges? Come on. Okay, let me give you a hint. Every strength overextended becomes a shortcoming or a weakness. Every strength overextended becomes a shortcoming or a weakness without you also realizing it. Right? Make sense? Let me give an example. Some of us said, we become angry fast. Is anger an emotion? As an emotion, is it good or not good? Good to some extent. When? Why? क्या बात है? Because of the appropriateness. Yeah. Now, the moment you qualify that, there is a context to that. Yeah. That is what we call wisdom. Our ability to exercise discretion rather than being judgmental. Yeah. Of course, if you're audit में तो काम तो black and white ही होता है ना? So there are no two ways about it. Yeah. But remember, you are not an auditor even after you step out of that role. Yeah. So unfortunately, this person, and I'm going to just kind of resonate what Kamlesh also mentioned, that you need to have balance. Yeah. It's very important to have things in perspective. This gentleman, what happened was he took himself so seriously that everything in life for him was black and white. So what happened was his ability to nurture friendships, relationships took a beating. क्योंकि कोई भी मिलता उनको क्या लगता? हाँ जी? हाँ. So what happened was people also started distancing from him, and that was also one of the क्या बोलते shackles बोलते ना जो chains which didn't allow him to progress in his career. So we had a hard time to kind of help him to appreciate the boss. Black and white एक चीज है for sure. That's a role specific thing. However, there are umpteen shades of grey, and a whole lot of time in life we are operating in those shades of grey. Yeah, and we need to be very watchful about that, because if we extend that, the strength of mine which I'm excelling in my profession, in my work, will come across as a or a shortcoming in the end. Yeah? So the ability to be aware of that is good. Yeah? So typically in the case of number crunchers, what are your strengths? Come on. Summarize data, ability to go into the details of things, ability to look at things threadbare, to analyze, yeah, be the anchor of reality. कि भाई so जो है वो है. Yeah? So those are the strengths. However, too much of it can become, sorry, like what? Analysis paralysis. And we see that a lot. Yeah? Karu, nahi karu, trust karu, nahi karu. And it's a huge conflict. It's what we call a mini conflict in our behavioral line. You know, should I be trusting or should I be not trusting, or go only with the facts, figures, or the data? So that can be a challenge. Now, coming back to the world of concretes, there can also be people who are like, who said now, who are calm, stable, steady. Is it a strength? Why not? You have a significant percentage of the world population, and thanks to that we have, now I can't say world peace, but more or less. Maybe in the past 2 to 3 weeks you can't say world peace, but yeah. But too much of comfort, too much of stability, क्या होता है? So, sir? Lethargy, complacency. It's like water, and I'm connecting it to the elements. Yeah, water needs to be flowing. If it is stagnant, yeah, and that's where your ability to be resilient, to be flowing, to be able to adapt to new technology, and very soon, like we will have AI and we will have machine learning replace conventional. Have you thought about those times? Because that concern is showing up in the legal world these days, right? Of course, you will always need a person to interpret the law, but having said that, everything is now digitized. You know, of course, it has made the legal profession very, should we say, progressive, because everything is available. पहले क्या होता था, बुक लेके बैठना पड़ता था. ये लोग, case law क्या है, ये क्या है, now it is all done machine learning. So think about a time maybe in the future wherein you will be facing, maybe you never know, machine learning may kind of make life either easy for you all or difficult in a way. They may want to say, boss, nahi, abhi to sab ho jayega, computer mein ho jayega. They will want to invest more in technology than in people, in human. And that is my urge and my earnest request to you, to be ahead of the curve, to be able to know what is happening in your specific area. Yeah? And these are some of the things that will also come up with in your what we call in your interview. How abreast are you with technology? So that's going to determine the course of or your trajectory of your career. Yeah. Can we take some quick questions? Some quick questions. Yes, yeah, please. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. Okay, good question. Good. Very good. First, let me just kind of quickly give you a snapshot of this thing. The moment you walk into the door of an interview, you are literally sized. आपका ऊपर से नीचे scanning हो रहा है. Yeah. So please turn out well. It could imply what? Personal grooming, very important. Grooming, hygiene, small things, but go a long way. Yeah? Because some of them are, with all due respect to interviewers, they are looking for opportunities to just reject. Yeah. I mean, it's the reality. Yeah? I mean, I'm not trying to mince words. I hope I'm not on camera record. No, sir. Please. Meri Laugari. Oh my goodness. I'm done. I'm doomed. Yeah. But at the same time, they want, or we want, promising, aspects. We want potential. There's a real dearth of talent in the industry, honestly speaking. Yeah. So turn out well. Yeah. You don't have to be in fancy Gucci and all this. No, plain, simple clothes. Yeah. Dark trousers, light shirt. If you have a tie, fantastic. But let not that tie be Mickey Mouse or whatever. This will not take you seriously. Yeah. Pinstripes or whatever. Simple. Yeah. If you have a jacket, fantastic. hair. These are simple things, these are real things. Hair, shave, all those things. I mean, these are things that I don't need to mention, but it's important for you because they are important. They are the real things. Yeah. Anything that distracts or takes away attention to you, whatever you're wearing, is a no-no. So you have to be there. You have to make your presence, and that doesn't mean that you need to be gaudy. Gaudy क्या है? Excessives. Yeah, Govinda, whatever. Yellow and white and green shoes. No. Yeah. Remember, we are there for this thing. We have come there on the basis of what we understand of the job requirement. Please go through the JD. Very important. JD क्या होता है? Job description. Yeah. Now, first things first. Can you come in front? Come. I need volunteers. This is how things become interesting. Yeah. First things first, when you come, when you approach, they make it sitting. You'd like to extend your hand. Yeah. Have a nice firm handshake. Neither to live, nor to muscle building. So it has to be firm. Thank you. When you are seated, yeah. Now these are very subtle psychological things. Yeah. Very subtle. Okay, when you're seated, there's a tendency that your interviewer may sit like this. Tell me. Now there's an interesting fact. We have what we call mirror neurons in our brain, which reflect. So आपको लगता है it's a natural instinct that this will happen. Okay, and you would never have noticed it. Sometimes people, they would pull a chair in front. Now when you pull a chair in front, you can reciprocate that with also coming front. Yeah? That shows a sign of building what we call rapport. Your hands, people don't know what to do with their hands. or fidgety. And you will No. It may communicate the wrong thing. Be aware of the language your body is speaking, because most of, it's about 60+% always what people see. Yeah? So please be aware of it. The truth lies in the palm of your hand. Don't put it underneath. Don't hide it in your pocket. Don't keep it behind. You're standing. Yeah? Always remember to proper things. That means you have nothing to hide. From the table. Your eyes. Focus on this area. This is the fifth triangle. Nothing below. Practice this in front of a mirror if you like. Because for some of us, we are not comfortable with maintaining eye contact. Yeah? These are subtle things. So क्या होता है? The person is telling you to इंटरव्यू also लेंगे इधर से देख रहा है मैडम को देख रहा है eyes are all over the place. Shifting eyes are not the right thing to be communicated. Because there is a tendency for everything to be misinterpreted or misjudged. आप जो करते हैं नहीं करते हैं, जो बोलते हैं नहीं बोलते हैं, that also can be misinterpreted. Please be aware of that. That's why we say be self-aware. Self-awareness is all about knowing how your conscious and unconscious behaviors are affecting others. Yeah? Knowingly or unconsciously. Yeah? It's your ability to also exercise restraint and control on your stuff. So, if you're standing, maintain a healthy posture. Like you said. Not like so, sometimes they will ask you. They'll ask you questions. Did you wipe your feet on the doorstep? It's a common thing. But sometimes, most of if you're going in a typical corporate line, they want to know how you as an individual will represent them if you're hired. There are three basic things that we look for. Yeah? One is your ability to do the skill part of it. After qualified hui, so that you have already got a trump card. The second most thing is your willingness. Willingness to do things and also sometimes do some other things allied rather than other than yours just main core activity. Yeah. Second thing. The third very important thing is the culture fit. Organizations look very, very importantly for a culture fit. So if you come across or if they suspect you coming across as thoda tana hua or God's gift to CAs, then they will. You may be a, like we say, SMEs, top cheech. You have scored the highest in your, but maintain a certain humble disposition about it. Yeah. Let it not speak before you arrive. Yeah. So be aware of that. Be conscious of that. Yeah. Some of the subtle things. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Good. Any further questions? How are we on time? Last question. Yes. In life, oh my, you'll have to meet me. Okay, good question, very good question. And I'll be honest, a lot of our corporate India faces this challenge on a daily basis, how to say no. The ability to say no is very close to what we call a quality, or should we say a developmental practice we call assertiveness. Yeah, and how you cultivate assertiveness in your daily life, in life as well as. So I'll give you very simple, in the interest of time. There are negotiables, there are non-negotiables. Yeah, negotiables and non-negotiables. Clear? Negotiables are what can be flexed. Non-negotiables are value system. No, they're non-negotiable, right? You cannot negotiate them. So be very careful or aware of where it lies. Which compartment does it lie? So I'll give you a real example. If somebody says, I mean, this is of course once people are working and things like, जाते जाते घर पे 2 packet दूध लेके जाना. It's a non-negotiable. And this is a reality. Yeah? We've had these cases in organizations, and earlier on, all these things were okay. It was like my baap, job hai to sab kuch hai kind. I will say yes to everything. But these times are different. In the past 10 odd years, times have definitely changed, and the ability to say no definitely holds. So, like I said, simple thing. Ask yourself: is it negotiable, non-negotiable? If it is a non-negotiable, it's a non-negotiable. Say, I'm afraid, sir. So please learn some of these words. I'm afraid, sir. This is not company policy, or I'm afraid, this doesn't fall in the purview of what we're supposed to do. Okay? So learn some of those verbiages or those things which are applicable. You can use it across. Yeah? And keep in touch so that I can probably. In fact, I was mentioning to Mandaji, one hour is a little too less for these two things. Maybe if we have the time and this thing, we can probably spend more time specifically for addressing some of these nuances. Yeah? So, thank you, sir. I hope I have provided some perspective.
So the first thing I was going to say was that clearly 1 hour does not do justice to the subject that you are covering, and I think most of us will agree with me that we never had such an absorbing, interesting, all-consuming 1 hour speak on a subject like resume and interviewing technique. Personally, I was hoping it to be a little bit of a dry hour, but I think it is just amazing how it flew by. And I think most of the people will now understand when you talk about resume or when you talk about interviewing technique, you are the resume. I think that is his message. You are the resume. How you conduct yourself, what you write in your resume, how you dress, or those things don't matter at all. At the end of the day, I mean, if you look at India today, the 5 top spots, Prime Minister, the biggest movie star, the biggest sports person, all of them have come from nowhere, from the bottom of the society. It's your attitude, it's your ability to relate to the other person, and your ability to be flexible. If I captured the essence of your uh, discourse correctly, it doesn't matter whether you can speak English or not, but what you speak is important, because if you speak the right thing, the other person will understand you irrespective of the language you speak, right? And Jacob sir, thank you so much for agreeing to come today. I think Jacob sir had already scheduled something, but on my request, he agreed to come. He rescheduled his program, and then we again rescheduled his lecture, and again he agreed. That is the flexibility, adaptability that he was talking about. Look at his profile, and we just request him, say that, yeah, ठीक है, मैं करेगा, right? मैं करेगा. So that I think makes the difference to your career. Thank you so much. Personally for me, I think Kamlesh ji ने भी बोला, life is a continuous learning process. There was a lot which I learned from your lecture. So a personal thank you for you from my side. And I will request Sanjay Jakhotia ji on behalf of the MVPM to present a memento to Jacob sir. How is the Josh now? जोश तो है, लेकिन फिर भी I saw a couple of people taking a little break during such an interesting session. So I think let's break for a tea break on the third floor. We are at 12:10 now, so let us religiously come back here by 12:25. चाय पी लिया तो आ जाना, चाय नहीं पिया तो बिना पिए, चाय हाथ में तो कप लेके आ जाना, but 12:25. Because if you want to go for tea, you will miss the bigger item, which is the lunch, okay? So come back here. Thank you. All attention, please. You can leave it for your neighbor after or during the lunch time. It's good to develop network. So here we have our next. So we have our next speaker, Mr. Sauro Dalmia. Saurav ji is a chartered accountant with a huge experience. He has worked with many multinational banks like Citibank, HSBC, and he has worked overseas. He has worked in different geographies, including the North American markets, Canada, and all. And now he is work attached to Bank of Baroda. As chartered accountants, we are used to talk in terms of taxation, accounts, and audit. And chartered accountants who are very ambitious or adventurous, they get into investment banking or finance. I think Saurav has set a benchmark for all of us, and he is the pioneer of the digital revolution in the banking system. Today, you know that all of us are doing, net banking, digital banking. He has developed and continues to manage the cash management system of the Bank of Baroda. It's a totally digital platform now, and the whole shift in a public sector bank from Khatabai to digital, I think it's an enormous challenge. Most of us don't realize how challenging it is to work in a public sector bank. And for a person who has worked in Citibank and in Canada to come to a public sector bank and make it a success, I think we should give a huge round of applause to Saurav for that. I think if you continue from the previous session, I think that is what a resume looks like, right? You are the resume. When you speak, people know what you are capable of. And we have the opportunity today to get guidance from him. So I will not take much of your time, and Saurav, the stage is all yours. Please.
Thank you, Jajuji, for your very, very kind words and the introduction. And good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, sir. Don't call me sir. This makes me older. I was, when one of my colleagues approached me that, there is this event which is being organized for chartered accountants. So first of all, before I forget, let me first start. Congratulations to all of you. It is just a phenomenal achievement to become a chartered accountant. And I think it's just the beginning. The world will be yours. So it's just, when I'm looking at you, the energy in this room, I can feel the buzz here. And, it just reminds me of my chartered accountant days some 25 years back when I had qualified, and, how excited we all were. So when a friend of mine who was there with me, again, we were together in a hostel in Mumbai. And we did our articleship together. So he reached out to me that, would you want to speak to the young chartered accountants? So I said, absolutely, because I just thought that it would be fantastic to meet all of you guys and, share some of my thoughts, some of the things that we thought we hopefully should have had, at that point in time, which could have been helpful. And I thought, it would be just nice to really share my experiences, and hopefully some parts of it could be useful for you as you guys build your career. So that was the intent. So I was very, very excited to, speak with you guys. I don't have a lot of slides, but I do have some, right? Probably three to four. But the whole idea today is in the next 30-40 minutes, really to share my experiences, and obviously let's keep it interactive. So please do feel free to ask me questions. The more interactive the session is, it will be more useful, because I can only talk about what my life experiences have been what my professional experiences have been, and what I was told when I started my career, which I think some really outstanding advice that I got, which really helped me over the last so many years. So with that, I will just start. Um, I'm a chartered accountant. I passed out in 1995. I did my articleship from A. F. Ferguson and Company in Mumbai, and I was studying in. I lived in Rajasthan, Vidyarthi Grih, RVG in Mumbai, with 300 more of my article friends. Um and I thought that whole atmosphere out there was absolutely brilliant. Everybody was really motivated, starting from those Sunday tests to, कौन सा attempt है and so on and so forth. But it was just fantastic experience working and studying out there and sharing and learning from each other in that hostel. I got the opportunity, I was actually one of the very fortunate ones. So the year I passed out, 95, Institute in Mumbai organized a placement session, so placement day. That was the first time Western Council had organized that, and it invited number of multinationals to come and talk to the young chartered accountants and see if they would fit into their plans. As a bank, and during my articleship, I got a chance to audit a number of foreign banks. And in Ferguson, I had audited Citi, I had audited ANZ, and a couple of other banks. Banking was one of the dream places which I really wanted to go. And fortunately for me, in the campus on that day, Citi also came. So we were just told that, okay, Citi is there, would you want to sit for the interview? There were a number of us, we filled the applications, and we went for the interview, and fortunately I landed a job out there. So that was my starting of my career, a banking career. So I started with Citi in one of their biggest businesses. I will come to that as we move along, but it's on the payments business side. And then few years later, another very large multinational bank, HSBC, wanting to build the same business in India, was recruiting, was taking people from outside who could help it build it up. I got that great opportunity, so moved over to HSBC. I built the cash management business for HSBC in India, and then my profession took me to HSBC in Canada. Canada for HSBC is one of its largest global businesses. I got a chance to manage the multinational relationships for HSBC, so help multinationals manage their businesses across the globe in multiple geographies. So it was a great, it was again a great experience over a few years. And then, but what, the Indian in me wanted to come back to India. And to be honest, when I work here in India, I really think there is just no place which can compare to our country. The kind of change that is happening here, the kind of opportunities that are there, there's so much to be built, there's so many opportunities out there. It is the market to be in. So when I was looking for stuff out there, I got this brilliant opportunity again. I got fortunate that one of my old super bosses in Citi, he had joined Bob as the MD and CEO, and he was building various business lines. And I just thought to myself that was okay. There's so much happening in India. If I can, join the bank to build something of the scale of a large public sector bank, and if we can do something, then how amazing would that be? So that brought me here, and I think I've thoroughly enjoyed my last 6 years here. So that's really about me as a person. And I will. So the focus of my presentation today is going to be about banking. Okay. And banking, because the reason I want to talk about banking is, one, that's the industry I know very well, because that's the only thing which I've done. So I can talk about it. I can talk about any business you want to learn about, or I can talk about how the banks really work, what kind of roles are there, and a lot of chartered accountants join banks. So it was one of the places I wanted to join when I was looking out for beginning my career. So I thought I'll talk about banks. I will talk about what kind of roles exist, because and when I was speaking with Jajuji as to what topic should I speak on, and it's just my personal experience, right? Because when you are outside a bank, when you're starting off, you are a chartered accountant. Okay, you have studied accounting, costing, financial management, a number of different areas. You are an expert, right? And then you look at what organizations, right? And you look at multinationals, right? And sometimes you look at banks as well. When you join a bank and then you find that what is a bank actually? And how do I apply the stuff? And what you find the career in a bank is slightly different from what you thought you could probably be doing in your career. So I thought I'll talk to you guys about some of the roles within the bank. So in the next 30 minutes, my focus would be to discuss just the bank in general, but also share with you some of the typical roles that people do in banks, so that you get a perspective as to what to expect when you join a bank. And I also wanted to share one slide, which was a slide which essentially has some key things that when I joined Citi, we had a 15-day orientation, and where senior leaders from the bank presented. And when all of us, we were chartered accountants, there were a lot of MBAs from various institutes, and it was a 15-day session, which was done. Citi took it extremely seriously, so it called all the business heads to speak to people. So one of the senior leaders gave an advice as to what are the key things that you should always keep in mind as you navigate and grow your career. So I thought I'll share some of those things and what exactly is meant by them. It looks easy, but it's very critical when you are you've learned technical skills, you are a master, but there are a lot of softer skills and what really could help you grow. So I thought I'll spend some time on that. So please feel free to ask, because that would make it hopefully more relevant and interesting. So my first question in the interview was, it was a surprise to us. Citi was there, and we applied. Okay, so you're not prepared for a bank interview per se. Most of the other companies out there were manufacturing companies. L&T was there. Some of the other large public sector units were there, but bank, only one came. So we were not particularly thinking about bank, but we were pleasantly surprised. So one of the questions was, which the panel asked me was, what do you know about the bank? What do you want to do in a bank? So I wanted to ask you guys, what do you know about a bank? Is bank a career choice for any of you here? If it is, raise your hand. If not, then that's fine. I will, that's absolutely okay. I don't know. Okay, so that's fine. Okay, so it may not be the first choice for a lot of people here, but if you think about a bank, what are the various parts of the bank that you can think of? Anybody wants to start here? What do you know? What do you think a bank does? So what kind of business lines would exist in a bank? So retail banking, investment banking, great. Sorry? Lending operations, great. Credit? Credit managers, okay. Right. Okay, so retail, credit, treasury, right. What do you mean by treasury? Okay, so balance sheet management. Okay. What else? Anybody else? Relationship management. So what do you mean by relationship management? So managing high net worth relationships. Okay, that's perfect. Sure. Wholesale. Okay, what do you mean by wholesale banking? But you know, wholesale banking is a very, very big part of a bank. So so you know, it's the right term. In fact, that's the umbrella term which is used when you define one very significant size of the bank's business. So that is correct. Anybody else? Anything else? Credit? Yeah, sure. Okay, sure, of course. Securitization, yeah. Corporate, I'm sorry? Yes, corporate finance and lending, yeah, for sure. Okay. Any further? Foreign exchange, absolutely. Foreign exchange, definitely. So I think, you know, so let me tell you honestly, okay, the number of areas that you guys have managed to talk here is definitely more than what I could tell tell the guy, because you know, I was it was just an impromptu kind of interview, right? So I could think about you know, credit, which typically what bankers or chartered accountants would know. I spoke about letter of credit, uh, and and I talked about home loan, right? And that's about it, right? And the persons who were there were not from any of these business lines. So so I've just put some one slide in terms of different types of areas that exist within a bank. Uh, so the people who were here, they were all from this particular business transaction banking. Anybody has heard of transaction banking at all? Okay. So these are various business lines. So if you look at it, if you look at a bank per se, there are a very large number of different areas in which banks operate. So starting from wealth management, somebody certainly said high value, you know, managing high value relationships for sure. Because if you look at a bank's balance sheet, there's liabilities, there's assets, right? There are some businesses that help the bank build its asset side, which is lending businesses. And a lot of you spoke about credit, but credit also, banks look at credit differently for different segments, right? So wholesale banking, somebody mentioned, which is nothing but the corporate banking side, where you're lending to a corporate, a large corporate. So you would look at corporates lending in a very different way. And then banks also do a lot of these home loans, personal loans, education loans, and so on, which is the retail side, where you look at, you know, sure, okay. Okay, perfect. So I hope this is working, right? Perfect. So, so there are different types of areas in which you would do lending when you look at a balance sheet of a bank, right? So they are all different business lines, and that's how the banks would manage them. Then there are a number of businesses that are liability businesses, because if you need to lend money, then you need to have money to be able to lend, right? So there are businesses which are liability side businesses. That now capital for everybody is limited, right? And capital is expensive as well. So you cannot just bring your money and then lend it out to a Reliance or you know, today Tata's last month have borrowed money for acquiring Air India at 4%, right? So you know, what money will you make So you cannot put your capital in lending fully. So there is, so banks have multiple different businesses through which they raise money. So what are those sources? The sources are essentially current accounts and savings accounts, right? So banks, you keep money in the bank, which the bank then utilizes for lending it onwards, right? In exchange, essentially, it gives you interest when you keep money in the bank, and when it is lending out, it is essentially charging interest, and that arbitrage in between, that is how the banks would make money. So there are various businesses on the retail side. So now, what would make you open an account in a bank? You just don't want, you will not go and open your bank account anywhere, right? You open your account with a bank that helps, which can service your requirements, which can give you convenience, which can give you the products that you need, which can give you the services that you require, which can give you services which are cost efficient, and so there are number of, and each one has got different different requirements, right? So there are so accordingly, to if for a bank to basically build its, for example, retail portfolio, it then segments this its market, right? Who am I going after? Is it a high net worth individual? And if it is, then what would be my value proposition for that high net worth individual, right? So I'll just give you an example. When we were doing the segmentation in our bank, a few years back, so we realized that, okay, private banks give lounge access to on credit cards, right? So the whole thing was, okay, let's give lounge access to all our on all our credit cards too. But if you look at it, if by giving lounge access, bank has to pay money, right? Now somebody, when I look at my customer base, there are only certain people who would fly, right? There are a lot of them who would not fly. And so if I have to offer free lounge access to everybody across the board, then either I will bleed money, so I cannot do that, or I need to segment my portfolio in such a way that I'm offering the service to the right customers only, right? So there, the way I make money is different from the way, from what I'm spending. So there are specific business lines that build the proposition for retail, and that's built usually under the wealth management business of the bank, which typically looks after current account, savings account propositions, investments. For multinational banks, typically NRI is a very critical piece as well. Then there are on the corporate side, again, what would make a corporate open a bank account? Any guesses? So corporate side, again, Reliance would not open a bank account with any bank, right? Again, there has to be a value proposition. That value proposition is something which is developed by this business called transaction banking, where you develop solutions which enable a company like a Reliance to be able to manage its cash flows better, manage its payments, receivables, liquidity in an efficient way, open letter of credits, guarantees, etc. Do supply chain financing, so finance the suppliers, customers, etc., so that they can grow their business. So transaction banking business typically helps the banks on the liability side. And it is, again, from a business standpoint for a bank, I didn't hear transaction banking here, and that's my business line, which is why I thought I'll probably spend some time on it. But it's one of the biggest businesses for a bank, right? And as a newcomer, we don't even think about it, but they are very large. A transaction banking business, for example, for a BOB, now is probably worth about 700, 800 crores. if I look at a foreign bank, typically it would be 1,500, 2,000 crores. So this is a huge, and I'm only talking about Indian operations. So it's a very large business line. So there is, somebody spoke about relationship management. So relationship is high net worth relationships, but relationships also could be corporate relationships, which is again done by the relationship manager. I'm going to cover some of those roles as we move forward into my next slide. But so corporate banking is a huge area within which, if I were to look at foreign banks, then they would typically segment their corporate banking portfolio into multinationals, into large Indian corporates, mid-market segment, and small segment. Typically, each of them, their requirements are very different, and so they have different business lines around them. Then there is very large government business segment, which is particularly for public sector and private sector banks. Treasury, somebody spoke about here, and you spoke about balance sheet management, but balance sheet management obviously is a very, very critical part, right? Because you have to always ensure that assets and liabilities match with each other, right? Otherwise, you could have a run on the bank, right? And we've seen runs on the bank, right? And that's how a number of things, as and when the crisis came, and some big institutions, basically had to be, basically just went into dissolution, went bankrupt. So Basel III came into the picture to control various practices that the banks were following to make sure that there is no run on the bank. So balance sheet management, very critical. Jajuji mentioned about foreign exchange, which is critical, right? Because when you're talking to a bank, you may want to remit some money in US dollars or whichever currency. So there is INR US dollar change, or vice versa. So that's the FX desk is a critical part, and then there is money market desk as well. So for short-term surpluses or deficits, they help bridge that gap through the money market operation. There is investment banking as well, since you mentioned. Particularly, it is there in private banks and multinational banks largely, which do a lot of advisory role around mergers and acquisitions, IPOs, disinvestments, and so on. It's usually a pretty smallish kind of desk because of the sheer nature, right? The investment bankers, you don't need a lot of them, and each one of them handles a number of such transactions. Then on the right side, then there are a number of other areas as well. Typically, as a chartered accountant, we are familiar with accounts. Obviously, banks also need to maintain their accounts. So there is financial accounts, there is internal audit, which is a very key component of the organization structure. And then typically risk management. So a lot of you spoke about credit. So credit risk management is a very key critical component. I've just captured a couple of other key risks as well, but there are quite a few of them, right? Operational risk, then enterprise risk. So a number of different areas in which banks have a very robust risk management department, which manages the risk for the bank across various different business lines. And then ultimately, whatever we do has to be executed, right? If I am a customer and I give a request that, okay, do a RTGS payment, okay, or open a letter of credit, I've given the instruction, but somebody needs to execute that instruction. If they don't, then what's the point, right? I'll probably shift my business to some other bank which won't. So operations and services is a massive, massive area. In fact, I was speaking with Amolji outside, and he was sharing Barclays, where he's working here, and he has got how many? Almost 20,000 people here. So actually, if you look at and I think the India workforce, I think he was telling me, is for Barclays is about 1/3 of their global workforce. So it's a huge number of people who execute. So operations and services again is a massive part, and each business lines typically have their own operations team. IT today is critical. I think it's self-explanatory, no need to go and get into it. But one area which is really picked up, I'm sure you guys would be hearing enormously in various articles, is the digital banking side, right? I think State Bank of India only yesterday announced their chief digital officer. The person is joined from Ujjivan Bank MD, highly renowned figure. But digital banking is because I think what we are seeing in banking today is that everything is becoming digital, right? I work with BOB, and BOB, our CEO says that in the next couple of years, 70 to 80% of our loans should be digitized. Okay, so the origin, right from origin to execution, everything should be digital. Okay, and I'm talking about a public sector bank, right? So banking and the country in which we live in, every digitalization is happening at a massive pace. I was looking at one number, 2016 versus 2021. 2016, we were way behind China in terms of the digital transactions processed in the country. Okay, and I think in every statistic, if I look at it, typically our numbers are way behind China, right? If I look at manufacturing, I'd look at any parameter, we are behind. They are ahead of us. In 2021, we are multiples of China in terms of digital transactions being processed. Because what we are seeing today in India is an explosion on the digital space, particularly fueled by UPI. And we have, it does not have any parallel anywhere. When I remember in one of the events in early 2000s, I was talking to a senior guy in RBI in Bangalore. And I was telling him, I used to look after corporate banking customers. And I was telling him the pain and how we cannot have, how the MNC cannot pull money from some other account. So we are dependent on checks. Checks would take ages to clear. I think you guys are very young, but when I started my career and my first many years, we used to have something called Outstation Clearing. Okay? I don't think you guys have even heard of it. So, for example, somebody in Bombay has given a check to you in Pune, right? And that check would take a number of days to clear, right? Because that check would have to be physically sent to Mumbai for clearing. It would take 3 to 4 days time because it was Mumbai. But if it is a check which is drawn on Orissa someplace or Bihar someplace or some other place, sometimes it could take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and sometimes it would never clear. Okay? It would go over there, and the person. So ultimately, if I have issued a check to you in Pune and I live in, let's say, Ranchi, right? This physical check would go to Ranchi for clearing, and I know the branch manager very well out there, and I don't have money in my account at that time. So I'll ask the guy, can you please help me with this check? The person would put the check in his drawer, right? and it would never clear. It would take a lot of time. So we've come such a long way. That was the origin of cash management in our country, right? When foreign banks tried to build processes to speeden up the receivables process by putting various structured solutions in place. And we've come such a long way today with CTS. I just think back, all the challenges that we used to face at that time do not exist anymore because RBI has been extremely proactive in, creating that infrastructure in our country. And with UPI, I think we don't have any parallel anywhere. I think the only parallel for UPI which I can think of is Singapore. But what is Singapore when you compare the complexity of India? So no system in the world compares with that. So we are going through enormous amount of pace at which the digitalization in our country is going is humongous. And that is really changing all the different business lines, right? How I would originate a retail asset loan 5 years back versus now has changed. So that's really things about the bank. Any business line you want to particularly ask me, please feel free. But I just thought I'll give you a flavor of different businesses. So banking is more than credit. What I have in green, so I just missed mentioning. So the green areas are the ones where I typically find more chartered accountants. Okay. There are certain areas where they are all big business lines, but CAs are more suited for certain types of businesses, right? So this is the green areas are ones where you typically find more chartered accountants. Not to say that there is no chartered accountant in housing loan or anything like that, but typically that area is more marketing. You find more MBAs than CAs in those business lines, whereas things related more for credit and some of those areas are in places where you will find a larger number of chartered accountants, doing business. But I just wanted to, since a lot of you mentioned credit, so I just wanted to share my thought on credit though. Most credit spread which I have seen, particularly in foreign banks, is you spread the financials, right? There is software that spreads the financials, and there are certain rules and logic, etc., which is built, and you make decisions on that, right? A decision on a credit is made by the relationship manager. The ratios, etc., are all calculated by the system. Okay? Credit, a large part of credit is really credit operations in the bank, which is essentially managing systems that run the credit process. It's not actually doing the calculation and deciding. A lot of that is the system is evolved, and it's very, very robust, and currently also increasingly there's enormous use of AI and ML in making them even more stronger. But a lot of credit roles are where you will definitely find a number of chartered accountants working. So that's typically a bank. I have some more time. So what are the typical roles within the bank? Because when you choose banking as a career, okay, it is not it is not a straight extension of your academics. It's not like you're joining a Big Four and doing auditing, or you're doing the tax audit or statutory audit or internal audit. The roles in banks, so I have put some roles here, right? What is operations? So as I said, you're executing the transactions. Okay? So in my career, when I started with Citi, we were around 50 people. We were a batch of around 50 or 52 people. There were about 7 to 8 CAs like me, and rest everybody was basically MBA from one of the premier institute. As a practice, Citi would put at that time everybody into operations. Okay, so everybody would get the first-hand exposure of execution and what does it feel like, and how to work with technology, right? Because that is what it teaches you. How to work with technology, how to look for solutions, how to innovate. So when I started, I was given this job of handling checks in Mumbai, which was the biggest center for us. And we used to typically handle 8 to 10,000 instruments a day. In one of those corridor talks with another of my management trainee friends, he told me that, boss, okay, you guys are having a great time right now. Just look at 2 weeks later, we won the mandate from Reliance Industries to handle digital their dividend payments. So see what happens in 2 weeks from now. and nobody really informed us. But fortunately, that was a good heads up, and that's how city works on grapevine. Uh, and then you figure out stuff, right? So we got 2 weeks to prepare. Okay, the first day when the dividend warrants came, and the number of instruments on day one was about, I think, probably 3 or 4 lakh instruments for a shop which was handling 8,000 instruments. That was a significant surge in volume. Our office was in Nariman Point, and that day the entire Nariman Point building was there in our op shop, right from the head of corporate banking to everybody. Okay, and trying to figure out what to do with those instruments. Okay. And it was so, and there were some 8,000 regular banking instruments also which were there to be processed, and if we did not process them, the other bank could assume that they are good for payment, and they would pass on the credit to the depositor, right? And if there are accounts with insufficient funds, then that's a loss for the bank. So it was a fire that day, that week probably. Everybody was trying to figure out innovative ways how to handle segregate instruments from dividend warrants. And we used multiple different innovative stuff. Somebody said, okay, why don't we bring the dividend warrants look different from checks? Let me use a note sorting machine and drop the drop the instruments from there, and we can easily segregate those instruments. So anyway, we did a number of such things, but in the bargain, we made about 3 crore rupees from that particular deal. So it was a great opportunity, and and it was a great learning experience. We figured out how to manage 4 lakh instruments as well on a regular basis. We made tons of money out of dividend payments in that year. So ops really teaches you how to work with technology, how to innovate, how to build. Okay, sales is something. I'll skip product management for now. Sales is something which is, I think it teaches you about the customer, because whatever we do, finally, why are we doing it? We are doing it because to basically service our customer, right? To fulfill the needs. And sales teaches you, because sales, you basically understand the customer better, and therefore you structure something for your customer. So if I were to, give you an example of structuring something. So let me pick up a old example of Reliance again, which had acquired Flag Telecom, and it was one of the largest companies with undersea cable, with operations across multiple countries and across the globe. So it was a UK company. It had acquired that, right? And now it wanted to take over that company. And one of the things to take over is basically take over the finance and decision making, right? So the key part of there was to quickly, their offices at that time used to be in Baker Chamber 5 in Nariman Point. The whole idea was that was my global operations are across some 20 countries, and I need to be the one who will call the shots. So you understand what is it that they are looking for, or what is the key objective as you work with the customer, and then you develop solutions around it. I think we got about a month or so to put a global solution for them in place. Sales really helps you understand the customer, and helps you with then you basically, and that is how you make money, right? That's how you can grow your business. I think relationship management is a very, very critical role, and it essentially, I think it gives you a very good flavor of what the customer wants and what you can do to grow your business over time. Particularly in corporate banking, it plays a very key role. I'll give you one example of relationship management. So I used to manage the relationship with levers a number of years back. And I was in Bangalore at that time, and Levers, one of their biggest businesses was there, which was Brook Bond Lipton. So I used to manage that relationship. And I was talking to the CFO out there. And, Levers is a very well-managed company. I think in the early 2000s or late 90s, it was one of the very few companies that used to operate with a negative working capital, right? If you essentially, any usage of working capital would attract 21% interest from the corporate treasury. Okay, at that time, the interest rates were very different from now, but I'm just just saying that. So when we spoke with them, so what every business line used to do was basically delay the payment to the suppliers as much as you would, right? Because that is what would make your business have a very negative working capital, and that is what would make your business look very, very good in the eyes of the management. But typically, they were killing their suppliers by delaying the payments. So when you're managing the relationship and you realize the issue, it was a catch-22 thing, because obviously on one hand their suppliers were bleeding, on the other side, they wanted to look good by managing their business balance sheet properly. So it allowed us to actually build for the first time a payables financing solution. Now it's commonly used, but essentially we structured a payables finance solution at that time, through which we knew it was levers risk, so the money would come in. Basis the levers risk, we ended up funding the suppliers, but typically at a rate which is much lower than what they could access financing from in the market. So they were on board. They would get their money faster, and there was still enormous 5%, 4 to 5% spread that the bank would pocket, significantly greater than what you would do in a vanilla lending scenario. So relationship manager really helps you understand the company in a lot of detail, and therefore you are able to bring the right pieces, and then build the relationship, build revenue. Clearly we got accolades from Levers with regard to the experience that they had because of their relationship with us. I think accounting and audit I don't need to get into, but people's management, leadership is something, as you guys will grow, I'm sure many of you will become big leaders in your companies. It's an area we focus on technical skills, but leadership becomes absolutely vital, right? Because it's not just you. You need to lead the team, right? You need to, if you're leading the team, if you're making them, if you are creating an environment where you can take the team through, have their support, I think you will do wonders when you work in your organization. So these are some of the common roles that are there. I think on the right side, what I told you is ultimately what can you derive out of them. Ops gives you a great understanding of P&L of the business and the risks that the business faces. I think product management gives you a great perspective in terms of the market landscape, where the industry is heading, and what should you do to be a leader in that space. Sales gives you a great customer understanding of the customer relationship management. I told you all about creating a wow experience with your target segment. I think accounting and audit, I put it down because I think you guys are very familiar, but I think it's a great role because it gives you the understanding of the business strategy. What does the business want to do? It's a very key role in every single business line. And I discussed people management. So at this time, let me just stop for 1 minute maybe, if any questions are there, or I can move forward. Yeah.
As far as the Indian stakeholders, once you enter the banking system, there is no way out. You cannot
So see, yeah. So what's your question?
Should we immediately think for this sector or should we first explore other fields and
So I think, look, banking is very specialized, right? So clearly it is a specialization role, and particularly it's a general role, right? So it is not a number of roles in banking would be building on your tech. You become a generalist. You don't become a specialist, right? So it's different from a practicing CA. It's different from a practicing lawyer or account. But I would say that, look, financial services is probably a very large component of our economy and global economy, right? So there is obviously there is movement because of different reasons to different industries in the space, right? Um, so each of these, if you look at it, now everybody needs to run their operations, right? Everybody needs to manage and build products. Okay, what you do for product management is constant across. Okay, everybody needs to sell, right? Everybody needs to manage their customer relationships. So it depends on how you look at it and what. So if you want to be in, if you want to excel as a chartered accountant or a practicing chartered accountant, then banking is not the line for you. And I'll give you one of my very close friends in Ferguson. We joined Citibank together, and as I told you, 50 of us we were in operations, right, including the IIM Ahmedabad topper, right. The guy, my friend Devang, a couple of months later, he decided that no, I do not want to be in banking, and he moved on, and he joined the industry because he was not very comfortable in generalized, in growing as a generalist. So clearly, and that's the reason why actually I put up this slide today, because we think bank is a very attractive career opportunity. So we need to know what to expect when we get there. And to a fairly large extent, it is a generalist career. But if I look about banking and you get stuck in a bank is not correct. A colleague of mine, a few weeks back, joined Mirai. Ravi, Ravi Doshi, I think he's joined as the business head there for. Sorry? Oh, you had lunch, exactly. So, financial services is a very big area, right? A lot of my friends work in payments companies. So when I look at transaction banking, and today if you can see payments is really a flavor of the day in India, right? It's attracting billions of dollars of investment. My good friend from RBG, he also started with a bank. His name is Akash Mundra. So I reached out to Mahenji through his father-in-law, right? And today he is the global CFO of PayU. So he's done it. Sorry? He's there, right? Yeah. So, okay. So it's something which, so there are a number of career paths, but certainly you're not going to be a practicing CA in most cases. So I just thought 5 more things, maybe not more than 5 minutes, but this is something which when I was going through my orientation, and the senior leader, one of the senior leaders at Citi, he had presented to us, what we need to do. Few things we should keep in mind. Okay? The first one being the customer. See, whatever we do, ultimately we are doing for the customer, right? So we need to always make sure that we are creating value for the customer. Come what may, what we make money, how we make money, whatever we are doing, everything is ultimately we are doing all of that because there is a customer on the other side, and we believe we can win business from there. So that's number one, and I think it has really helped me throughout. It shapes every single decision that I make with regard to what its impact would be on my customer. The second thing is have mentors. Okay, so when you are, when whichever organization you join, look for a mentor. A mentor can help you guide and navigate through the organization. Okay, and that mentor may not necessarily always be from the company that you join, but look at some senior leaders. There are many of them here, right? Perhaps they can guide you, coach you, help you overcome, or share their experience with regard to how you can handle a particular situation better. How can you move towards your career goals? So always look at mentors. Mentors have helped me immensely when I look back to my career over the last so many years, including my current role, which I got into because of my, somebody who I used to know extremely well in city. Uh, uh, Build your network. Okay, there's so many of you here, right? I don't know how many of you know each other from past, but it's a great place, right? You're getting to meet so many of your colleagues who are all starting afresh. Build your network, grow it over time. I think today with social media, etc., it's a lot easier. With LinkedIn being there, with WhatsApp being there, and so on and so forth. But build your network. It is going to be absolutely key. A few years back, I was thinking of doing executive MBA from one of the Ivy League colleges. A few years back, I finally didn't pursue it. But when I was when I spoke with a number of people, how would you select a college? Okay, and the top two things was the access to the alumni, right? That it would give, alumni really helps you get your next opportunity and the next and the next. I'll give you actually one crude example from my first organization which was Citi. Lot of Citi's senior leadership globally is dominated by Indians. Okay, so Citi used to have 5 clusters, the way they used to describe, and they used to call Indians, and particularly in the 90s and early 2000s, they used to call it as the Indian mafia. A senior guy would go into a global role, will pull some people from India, who in turn will keep pulling people, and accordingly the entire organization was full of Indians in various leadership roles. But ultimately it's all about network, right? Build your network. It need not be limited to your company. It's really across, right? Innovation is something which we must never forget. I think the world is changing so fast. I explained to you, I started with the fact how India has grown from 2016 to 22, right? It's changed so much. In my opinion, unless and I gave you that example of operations where we used even the note counting machine to do check processing. If you do not innovate, in my opinion, you could be outstanding today. If you innovate, you will remain outstanding and you will be a leader. You will remain a leader. If you do not innovate, 5 years from now, you could be obsolete, right? Because the world would have moved. The world is changing quickly. It's absolutely vital that we keep innovating in our roles, right? So that's very important. The last thing probably is more from a multinational organization perspective, but the relevance of language, and the more languages you know, the more chances you have to grow, because it will be that much more easier for you to connect and communicate effectively with larger number of people. So those were the 5 things I thought they've helped me immensely. Apart from the last one, which I don't have a flair for languages, so I tried my best, but I just couldn't pick up anything. But I think the first 4 have certainly have helped me chart out my own career path. I hope you will find some of those things useful as you build your career. I think you've got the world ahead of you. So wish you guys all the best. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, it's time for lunch, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Well, what would you want to know? Okay. See, so M&A would be, I mean, I don't know what you would want me to elaborate upon, but essentially, see, larger foreign banks, if I were to look at banks per se, okay, banks would typically have M&A division, so they do advisory. Particular foreign banks typically do a lot of advisory to multinationals wanting to acquire or divest stakes here. And then you have some of the large private sector banks which are huge, like a Kotak, like ICICI. They typically do a lot of M&A stuff, given the client base that they have and given their skill set in terms of relationships with global investors, being able to raise the money to be able to let these transactions close. And obviously there are a bunch of companies that specialize in this space itself. The investment banks, the large ones I can name offhand, but companies like Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch. So number of players are there. But if you're looking for a career over there, then be extremely specific that this is the only area that you are interested in. Because if you join a bank and hope that you will move into M&A, it can happen, but it's a very specialized recruitment which generally does not happen. It can happen at a very later stage of your career when, if as a head of corporate bank, I'm managing large relationships, I have relationship with various promoters, etc. So I may be able to add value at that level, right, in getting those deals. But generally, if most people in investment banking are career investment bankers. So be extremely specific when you are looking for those opportunities. I don't know, I can add a lot more to whatever I'm saying, but and look for the bank. Not every bank has the M&A piece. For example, if you join a BOB, we have a subsidiary called BOB Capital, but I don't think we do any M&A deal. so do a little bit of homework.
So I think we are running a little late. So Sauro, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think the last 1 hour was like a movie, and if you think about it, I could visualize him actually processing the Reliance dividend. I could see him walk into the Citibank and then come to the Bank of Baroda. So that's the storytelling. I think he lived through his life, and his story inspired us to understand how the banks function, what are the different divisions, and how you can fit into that, whether you will fit into or not. I think the way he explained the whole thing, making his own example, I think it was a movie for me, and certainly he was the hero of that movie. And I think this is one of the attribute of successful people. They can explain things in very complicated things in a very simple way. So thank you so much, Sauravji.
Thank you, Judge.
And thank you so much for being with us today out of your busy schedule.
Thank you.
And I will request Amolji now to please present a memento to Sauravji
Oh, okay. Thank you.
on behalf of the MVPM.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So it is the lunch time now. but as you can see already, we are running a little bit behind the schedule, and we have a galaxy of speakers lined up for the second half. And as much as the first half was interesting, I can promise you that the second half will be still more interesting. So may I request all of you to cut down 15 minutes from the lunch time, and can we be back here by 2:15 sharp, right? And like for tea, if you don't finish your lunch, bring your plate here. Don't worry, but we are by 2:15.
गर्ल्स को गर्ल्स हॉस्टल जाना है, बॉयज को बॉयज हॉस्टल जाना है.
For what?
So we have a separate lunch arrangement for the girls. Girls needs to go to the girls hostel and boys needs to go to the boys hostel.